The collapse of the Soviet Union is something a lot of people consider to be an external factor. Uh, Pressure from the Cold War caused the country to ultimately fall in on itself and collapse. This is not the case. The fall of the Soviet Union can actually be more attributed to internal factors that had built up throughout the nation's existence. The introduction of policies to open up the apparatus of state, to be more open with the general populace during the Gorbachev era, called Glasnost, coupled with a stagnating economy, opened the Soviet people to the true state of their nation. And during this great stagnation and opening of public discourse, the Soviet Union suffered a series of politically and economically damaging events that would further place strain on the state. Following all of the events that occurred, the Chernobyl disaster, the Afghan war, which is a mess in itself, and more, the Soviet Union was doomed to fail. It was not coming back. It was quite literally a house of cards that had fallen in. Within modern Russia, Mikhail Gorbachev is generally viewed quite unfavourably, particularly by the Russian government and also the people. I distinctly remember being there and having a photo of him on a wall in the city of Irkutsk being pretty heavily vandalised. This is due to the policies of Gorbachev being blamed both correctly and incorrectly for the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991. The Soviet Union inherited by Gorbachev on the death of his predecessors, though, was in a dire situation. The economy was stagnated, poverty was on the rise, alcoholism was basically Tuesday, and crucially, a very expensive, unpopular war was being fought in Afghanistan. In 1985, Gorbachev actually gave a speech in Leningrad where he publicly admitted to the Soviet people and effectively the world that the economy had stagnated and it needed reform. He spoke openly about the human factor and he introduced policies and reforms known as, this is a fun word, Uskurs. Nope, I'm putting it on screen. Not bothering putting it on screen. The idea was that through restructuring, perestroika, and transparency, glasnost, the Soviet Union would be able to evolve and survive into the modern world with new political thinking, commercialization, democracy, all the fun stuff. These reforms, though, well, they were a bit different to the Soviet policies of the past. A clear indicator of how much the Soviet Union really changed under Gorbachev was the fact that he was heckled publicly by the people. The smelly individuals were able to talk to the General Secretary. And they were able to say, like, for example, in Krasnoyarsk in 1988, Gorbachev was met with disgruntled citizens, with one woman saying, "Go into our shops, Mikhail Sergeyevich. You will see that there is absolutely nothing there." The very idea of the General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union being heckled so publicly was previously unheard of. And it's a clear indication of how much the information space between the USSR was changing. The social change, coupled with the attempt at rapid reform of the system to decentralize the economy, just further destabilized the USSR, though, and a lot of this was down to the top-down bureaucracy that really controlled the USSR, and it was an absolute mess. It was a mess that was thrown at the feet of Gorbachev, and in many ways, there was no way Gorbachev was going to stop the fall from happening. Now, the Soviet Union, the way its government worked, it's interesting. It's complicated. It makes no sense to anyone who, well, doesn't have a Soviet mindset, unless you spend like a week and a half throwing your head into it. But it's really a bit odd. Now, the Soviet Union was a top-down bureaucracy, with the state being centered around a powerful general secretary and wider Politburo. Nominally, the general secretary only controlled the Communist Party directly. But the Soviet Union was a one-party state, ergo the General Secretary was in charge and controlled the party that was the one party of the one-party state. So for all intents and purposes, the General Secretary is the dictator with total control. In order to maintain this control, the General Secretary and the Politburo relied on a series of councils, with each industry having a council and a series of deputy directors running top-down. A key example of this structure can be seen in the Ministry of Atomic Energy during the Gorbachev era, with power centered around a powerful minister in Moscow and a series of less powerful ministers and ministries at different capitals at different SSRs as you get lower and lower and lower until you reach the individual nuclear power plant. Within the plant itself, there would be a series of similar positions until you reach the plant staff. The Chernobyl disaster would later highlight just how ineffective the structure could be, but it would also highlight the ability for scapegoating when it came to something going wrong, ultimately protecting those at the top, namely the Politburo, the General Secretary, and the state itself. Side note, I'm calling it Chernobyl, not Chernobyl, using the Russified English version, not the Ukrainian English version for place names and such during this, because we're talking about time inside the Soviet Union. It will make more sense as it goes along, but the idea is this is what it was known as at the time during the Soviet Union, which was effectively a Kremlin-run state, because it was, so I'm using the terminology that best fits the period. Please don't get your knickers in a twist about it. Further to this, these progressive deputy directors and secretaries were unelected and put in place by people in more powerful positions. This kind of structure allowed the Soviet Union to survive scandals and caused by avoidable accidents. See the Tu-104. The goal of the Soviet state, and the reason for this kind of governmental structure, was the theory of the collective state's goal. An example of this throughout Soviet history is the 5-year plans and the centralization of the state's resources for what would be deemed to be the collective good. This rigid government structure, though, was not flexible, and it would backfire pretty heavily during the Brezhnev era, with the Soviet economies being able to provide in what would become known as the era of stagnation. Now, after Stalin kicked the bucket and did the world a favour in 1953, the Soviet Union went through a period collectively known in the Western world as the Khrushchev Thaw. This period saw an end to the extremely repressive policies of the Stalinist era, and the thaw also included fiscal reforms that would greatly benefit the Soviet economy. For example, they actually got a minimum wage during this period, and media, arts and culture were allowed to be developed further. And due to what can be described as a war on Stalin, because Khrushchev hated Stalin, he really hated Stalin, he ended up alienating many of his supporters who held the God Emperor Stalin in high regard. I'm not being facetious. They genuinely, many of them thought Stalin was basically a God Emperor. One of these people was Leonid Brezhnev, who ousted Khrushchev in '64 as the leader, and although initially the Soviet economy would prosper, the reintroduction of Stalinist policies and the end of Khrushchev's thaw began to inhibit the USSR's economic growth. The slowing of the Soviet economy, coupled with the birth of a gerontocracy, old people running the place, that's what that means. It just means you just have old people and not young people. It's the US Congress within the Soviet Union. It furthered the lag being experienced by the USSR against its Western adversaries. Now, Brezhnev had a bit of a different way of reacting as well when people tried to not be communists. He was a big fan of turning everyone into a bit of a pink mist. And in 1968, he did this in Prague. And it really started to get repressive. Like, Brezhnev believed in communism will be achieved and maintained in our allied and satellite states through the power of the tank. This is really where tankies sort of come from, this in Tiananmen Square. In an attempt to overcome the economic depression, the Soviet Union attempted large infrastructure projects, particularly in the field of atomic energy, to provide cheaper alternatives to power to the state. But when you try and build a nuclear power plant on a lack of resources and 7 bottles of vodka, it doesn't exactly go well. And the lack of resources started leading to unsafe practices, with the previously mentioned levels of bureaucracy, as I mentioned, each trying to fulfill the orders that they were given from the one above them, and then give the orders to the ones below them. Doesn't matter how the order's done, just do it. An example of this is nuclear power plants in the Ukrainian SSR had their roofing sealed with highly flammable tar and signed off as complete. I'm sure this won't come back to bite us. The Afghanistan war, meanwhile, well, it would add to the USSR's woes in the era of stagnation, and it became an ulcer that was such a drain on the weakened state that something needed to be done about it. Now, the Soviet-Afghan War lasted just over 9 years from 1979 to 1989, and it was a tremendous strain on Soviet resources, and it shattered the idea to the Soviet people that the Red Army was an invincible force. Partially because those people in the mountains somehow managed to get Stinger missiles and it sort of upset the balance of power. But the propaganda surrounding the infallibility of the Red Army, it had been in place since the Great Patriotic War, and you can still see it today. Like the amount of people who genuinely think Russia has a powerful army and it's amazing and it's the best thing in the world and they won World War II single-handedly, it's...
Zapier's easy automation sends every marketing lead straight to your CRM, and you can rest assured knowing that no lead...
It's almost as annoying, and I say almost as annoying because it's not as common, as people who think that the United States won the war by itself. Like, we're almost at that level. But the propaganda surrounding the infallibility of the Red Army is mental, and the tremendous casualties and increasing brutality of the Soviet campaign, it came to the forefront of the Soviet information space. And the transparency that Gorbachev brought with him really allowed the size and scope of Soviet casualties in that war to be public knowledge, with the dead and wounded numbering between 80 to 90,000 young men. And the war became increasingly unpopular in the USSR and extremely costly. I just want to point that out. In 9 years, 80 to 90,000 deaths. Good job, Putin. You beat the Soviet-Afghan war. You absolute mad lad. You beat the Soviet-Afghan war for horror. Good job. One of the tactics employed by the USSR during the Afghan war was to avoid casualties. It was common to just scorch the entire earth where the enemy was. This didn't exactly gel well with a lot of the men involved in the conflict, and folk music began to take place again. The Soviets often express themselves through folk music. It's quite interesting, with this one being a particular winner. A crucial difference in the Gorbachev period was that, unlike his predecessors, the Soviet leader was not a fan of, as Brezhnev was, turning people into a fine pink mist. In this sense, the policy of Glasnost actually damaged the USSR's stability, because people actually sort of started to realize that, hey, I can protest and not die. This is pretty amazing. And these accumulating factors, both social, economic, really resulted in the Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan in 1989. But the war had caused critical damage to the economy and stability, and it had broken that myth of the invincible Red Army. The USSR had to realize for the first time that the Red Army could and had been defeated. The consequences of that era of stagnation really came to fruition, though, with the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster on April 26, 1986.
На Чернобыльской атомной электростанции произошла авария. Поврежден один из атомных реакторов. Принимаются меры по ликвидации последствий аварии. Пострадавшим оказывается помощь. Создана правительственная комиссия.
The destruction of the plant and the scale of the disaster was in contrast to the promised policy of transparency, initially hidden from public view, including the nearby town of Pripyat. The Soviet news headline warning of the disaster spoke of an accident that was being handled by the government. It was not until days later, when a power plant in Sweden discovered high levels of radiation that had travelled from Soviet Ukraine, that the USSR was forced to admit that something bad had happened. The plant director Brukhanov was given the order to build the plant within an allotted time frame and to provide a certain level of power to the grid. Brukhanov wasn't a nuclear engineer. He just got told to build the power plant. To cut corners in an era where resources were scarce, he did what he had to do to meet his deadlines. He took actions such as using tar on plant roofs, and he also combined the containment buildings of reactors 3 and 4 to save money and meet deadlines. The Soviet RBMK reactor, in use at Chernobyl, was itself a fatally flawed design, and this was the root cause of the explosion. This flaw was known due to an earlier accident at the Leningrad nuclear power plant, and it was hidden by the state police, the KGB, to protect Soviet interests. Similarly, the cause for the disaster at Chernobyl was hidden, and it wasn't until the nuclear scientist in charge of fixing the damn thing, and during the cleanup, Valery Logasov committed suicide, that his notes regarding the cause of the disaster was actually shared amongst the scientific community. Go Soviet Union. The attempted cover-up and the reaction of the Soviet states kind of led to the public opinion turning from well, the government will keep us safe too. I think they might be bullshitting us. The simple fact about Chernobyl was that the Soviet economy couldn't handle it. It was so expensive, and Gorbachev himself calls it the nail in the coffin of the Soviet Union. The disaster really reveals to the Soviet citizens for the first time that their news sources that they relied on they weren't reliable. They could not be trusted anymore. And this is where we get to the weird part of the internal collapse. We all know that the Soviets loved their propaganda. Big fans of it, especially when it came to anything to do with their military, anything to do with war, that kind of stuff. Now, during the late Soviet Union, the use of the television had grown in popularity within major cities, and they actually had televisions that they didn't have to look through a giant pane sheet of glass and water and a magnifying glass. They actually had proper televisions at this point. And Moscow and Leningrad in particular had a very, very big roaring fan base of the TV. Now, advertising is a bit different in the Soviet Union. So, instead of having individual businesses, everything was state-run. So, advertisement is less at showing what people can buy rather than what's just available in your area. A significant amount of Soviet television and advertisement during this period originated from the Estonian SSR, from the director of Harry Egypt. Egypt's advertising showed the ideal Soviet lifestyle, which is very much based on propaganda that in the real-life Soviet Union was comfortable and prosperous and was amazing. However, he also did some weird stuff, like the chicken ad. I feel uncomfortable watching this. Now you have to watch it too. The economic situation though was getting so bad that Egypt's advertisement was now turning into a bunch of people watching down every day after a horrible day at work, earning not too much, sitting in their state-run apartments, seeing people flying around on amazing products that they could never dream of owning. Key example being the washing machine. There's a reason you see so many Russians stealing washing machines. And there's a reason why it's alleged that when Putin fled East Germany at the fall of the Soviet Union, he took his washing machine with him. The television and mass media provided the public citizenry with information in real time too, skipping that government filter. So Soviet citizens were able to watch in live the collapse of the Berlin Wall and the fall of the Warsaw Pact. Further to this, as previously mentioned, the USSR under Gorbachev reacted less violently to protests. And the use of television showed the public that they could now engage in civil disobedience without being turned into, well, as I have said twice now, a fine pink mist. The failure of the Soviet propaganda and state-run media to enforce the state's control as it had throughout the history of the USSR led to people kind of realizing when Swan Lake was on TV, some shit was going down. And that's where the meme comes from, is in order to try and keep things stable, they just put on Swan Lake on the TV to keep people calm and going, oh no, they're definitely not going to figure out something's up right now. But all of these factors, and a lot of the TV is the reason behind it, and media is the reason behind it, is why when finally came push to shove, and Gorbachev tried to salvage the Soviet Union, the hardliners launched a coup. And the hardliners' coup is what would finally do the Union in. In a really last-ditch effort, In an attempt to salvage and restructure the Soviet Union, Gorbachev's administration planned and proposed the New Union Treaty, which would have decentralized much of the power from the USSR from Moscow and devolved the power to member states. Think like European Union with a bit more connections. The military is all connected, the states a bit more independent though. It's a bit complicated and it doesn't really matter because it never got signed. Because on the 20th of August 1991, Soviet hardliners, horrified at the thought of having to give up any power whatsoever, launched a massive coup. Side note, one of the funniest things about the New Union Treaty was the new name of the Soviet Union. So, for example, instead of Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, they were considering Union of Soviet Sovereign Republics, just to keep the name USSR. They also considered Union of Sovereign States, and a few other interesting ones as well. But they really wanted to keep the acronym USSR or CCCP as what we would see, but it's USSR. It just looks nice, apparently. It would have been cheaper for the rebrand, I suppose. Now, this coup, Swan Lake was put on TV, as it always was, but the ultimate goal of the coup was a reversal of the democratization and reforms undertaken by Gorbachev, and it was marked by a large military operation in Moscow and the removal of the General Secretary from power. However, the seed was set. The democratization of the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic, say that 10 times, had previously elevated the independent Boris Yeltsin to the position of head of state, and furthered the spread of a uniquely Russian, not Soviet, sense of national identity, which detractors of the coup were able to rally around. The failure of the plotters to capture Yeltsin sealed the coup and really the Soviet Union's fate. The failure of the plotters to capture Yeltsin sealed the coup's failure and cemented stability in Russia itself around the Russian head of state, not the Soviet head of state. Further to this, the replacement of the well-known Gorbachev by an unknown group of hardliners linked to the KGB who had clearly seized power furthered public mistrust and disapproval of the plotters. The destabilization of the Central Soviet power following the end of the Warsaw Pact proved to be the final blow to the Soviet Union, with individual member states expecting and wanting further independent power, but not under Moscow anymore, rather fully independent. August coup, therefore, accelerated the internal collapse of the Politburo and the General Secretary's power, and the fall of the Soviet Union at this point, it was just a matter of time. It was a foregone conclusion. Now, after the August coup attempt, major parts of the Soviet Union were moving towards independence. The Ukrainian SSR had, in the years leading up to the collapse of the USSR, had a growing movement for independence, and the relaxing of restrictions and censorship under the Gorbachev regime assisted this movement. In 1990, the officially banned Ukrainian nationalist song and soon-to-be national anthem of Ukraine was performed in a large concert hall in the city of Lviv. The August coup cemented this movement's progress, and Ukraine, along with Azerbaijan, responded to the instability in Moscow by moving towards independence. The Baltic states, meanwhile, including Moldova, Georgia, and Armenia as well, completely rejected the idea of the New Union Treaty in principle at all and demanded total independence before it was even signed. The rejection of the treaty by the coup and the core member states of the USSR truly signaled the end of the Union. Concurrently, in Russia itself, the adoption of national symbols such as the tricolour and the eagle by an independent, non-communist government chosen by the Russian people in what was effectively a free and fair election assisted the birthing of a distinctly Russian identity, away from the Soviet identity. The rejection of the New Union Treaty, coupled with the existing national movements against communist rule, really set the conditions for the member states in the Soviet Union to reject Moscow entirely and to seek independence. By adopting non-communist symbols of nationhood, electing independent officials, and by choosing their own paths, these countries were able to leave the Union, and with the centre, namely Russia, unable to hold any longer, the USSR's collapse was now unstoppable. To put it frank, the USSR fell internally. The external pressure faced by the Soviet Union during the Cold War required that strong internal structure to maintain the USSR's position at the head of the Warsaw Pact, and to hold together the individual socialist republics. But the August coup, while in many ways responsible for the dissolution of the Soviet Union, was merely a consequence of decades of increasingly weakening economic strength, and the failure of the Soviet political system to effect reform and change in any timely manner, well, it really sealed the Union's fate. Although certain levels of détente were achieved with the United States, the cost of maintaining an immense bureaucracy and military force was just too much for the Soviet Union to bear, and the public perception and belief in the Red Army's strength was shattered after the defeat in Afghanistan. These cumulative effects of the economy weakening, faith in the public system being weakened, and further heightened by the Chernobyl disaster, really laid bare to the public the state that the Soviet Union was in, and it collapsed based upon this weight. It truly was a case of it got so heavy that it fell in on itself.
Hey yo! Pozdrav, dobro večer. Are we working? We're working. Nice. Okay, fair. Tito was not a Soviet, my dude. Tito was not a Soviet. I almost stopped the stream previously and then I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't stop the video because we haven't seen the last few videos previously. Wait, by the way, I messed the camera up. Okay, this is good. But yeah, Tito was not a Soviet. Tito was not a Soviet. Tito was one of us. Just like you could say that his ideology in part shared some ideas with Soviet ideology for sure. But he wasn't a Soviet. Calling him a Soviet is just absolutely incorrect. Calling him a Soviet would be as, stupid as thinking someone has to be Russian to be a Soviet. It's basically the same thing. It's like, I don't really think you understand what you're talking about. I don't know, I found a red shirt in my closet and I was like, oh, color? Cute. Because I removed basically all the color from my closet. I'm trying to do a reinvention. I'm doing a thing with like switching up my branding IRL. So, did participate in Russian Revolution? He was, to be fair, I thought my question about why they claim he is a Soviet and whether they believe in the conspiracy thing is because there's legit a conspiracy that Tito was actually a Soviet spy sent here to control Yugoslavia from within, right? So the theory is that when Tito was sent to Gulag, that he was actually replaced. So the Slovenian Tito was replaced by a USSR Tito, and we didn't know. Right, we had no idea about it. This is why you have the CIA document. I don't know if you look at it. We watched it on stream, I think 2 or 3 times. There's a CIA document, and it looks into Tito's speech patterns and the way he pronounces words. And the document is trying to prove that Tito actually was not Balkan, that he was actually Soviet. But the problem with the document is that the way it describes his speech, it describes his Slovenian, what's the word, way of speaking? There's a word I want to use and I can't remember it in English, but like the way you pronounce words. The fuck is naglasak? The fuck is naglasak in English? Naglasak. Accent, yes, accent. Thank you. Yeah. It's in Slovenian. It's different than it is in Slavic. On what? On. Oh, not all Slavs were in Yugoslavia. It would make no sense to say, oh, was he Slavic or was he Soviet? That would kind of make no sense. Did my lights just turn off? What the fuck was that? Yeah, also stress. But like, it would make no sense for them to be like, was he Slavic or was he, Soviet? Because you could easily be both of them at the same time. Yeah, Russians are part of Soviets. Russians are one part of Soviets. Not all of it, of course. But yeah, basically the theory is that the Slovenian Tito got replaced by a Soviet Tito and then got sent back to Slovenia so he could be controlling Yugoslavia from the inside. And the theory was based on his accent, it's just Slovenian accent. They, several times in the document, they compare it to the way Serbs say words, which kind of makes no sense because, we say words a lot differently than Slovenians do. So I don't know. Never really took the conspiracy too seriously, to be honest. I never really took it too seriously. Our people had quite negative view of Soviets at the time, so even if he was some sort of a spy, it didn't really work, did it? What? No, but like that's not what Soviet means. You can't you can't use words as if their definition is different than what the actual definition is. You can't be like, oh yeah, I said Soviet, but I meant a government ruled by the elected military power. That's not the definition of Soviet, is it? That's making no sense. You can't just imagine your own meaning to words. Of course, other people in a conversation are going to be like, no. No. Homo Sovieticus? Average conformist person in the Soviet Union and other countries of the Eastern Bloc. What, really? Oh, damn. Next level of evolution of humanity, where the USSR becomes the kingdom of freedom, the birthplace of a new, higher type of Homo sapiens. Cute. Okay. The idea that Soviet system would create a new, better kind of Soviet people was first postulated by the advocates of the system. It was a term with largely negative connotations anyways, invented by opponents to describe what they saw as the real result of Soviet policies. Oh, so there were people who were like, oh yeah, we are creating a superior form of humanity, and then other people who were like, ha ha ha, look at your superior form of humanity, it is broken. Indifference to the results of his labor. As expressed in the saying, they pretend they are paying us and we pretend we are working. Lack of initiative and avoidance of taking any individual responsibility for anything. It's a person enslaved, incapacitated, deprived of initiative, unable to think critically. He expects and demands everything to be provided by the state. He cannot and doesn't want to take his fate in his own hands. Indifference to common property and to petty theft from the workplace. A line from a popular song, everything belongs to kolkhoz, everything belongs to me, meaning that people on collective farms treasured all common property as their own, was sometimes used ironically to refer to instances of petty theft. Take from the plant every nail, you are the owner here, not a guest. I mean, we did have lots of stealing during the Yugo times, so I guess. Chauvinism. Soviet Union's restrictions on travel abroad and strict censorship of information in the media aimed to insulate the Soviet people from Western influence. There existed non-public ban lists of Western entertainers and bands, which were added to the list for other peculiar reasons, one such example being the Irish band U2, the name of which resembled that of Lockheed U-2, a high-altitude US reconnaissance airplane. As a result, exotic Western popular culture became more interesting precisely because it was forbidden. Okay, that makes sense. Obedience to or passive acceptance of everything that government imposes. In the opinion of a former US ambassador to Kazakhstan, a tendency to drink heavily appears to enjoy loosening up in the tried and true Homo Sovieticus style. We're just talking about alcohol today. How curious, how interesting, how lovely. Can't change the meaning of words back and forth. I saw someone today, listen, you will not believe this. Saw someone today quoting Seymour Hersh. I saw someone today on my Croatian political side of Twitter quoting Seymour Hersh as a reliable source. 2023. 2023. You just reminded me of it because of his stupid ass idiom music. Like 2023, and people still quoting that man. Seymour Hersh, he used to be a proper journalist, and then he turned into a vatnik. Best known these days for two things. two things. First thing, writing that article which claims USA destroyed Nord Stream 2. Second thing, claiming he is speaking to his sources in USA. So he said that USA officials are speaking to him. He quoted one of these officials in an article, and the mentioned official has uttered a quote, "a poor wife in his underwear," which is an idiom existing in Russian language only. Seymour Hersh either intentionally or stupidly was presenting a Russian source of information as a USA source of information. That's the man. That's the man. Yeah. Like at this day and age, quoting Seymour Hersh is just absolute willful ignorance. There's nothing else. You're willingly choosing to go with a man whose words are worth nothing. He either was a useful fool, so he was fed Kremlin information and he thought it was USA information. He either was a useful fool or he was collaborating with Russians. Both options are horrible. The fact he's still being quoted is laughable. Wasn't it claimed Ukraine group were guilty of it? A lot of it was claimed. Nothing so far was proven, as far as I know. So there's some really, really strong indications for a bunch of theories, really, but nothing was proven. Poland in the back. I wish. Godly option is that Poland did it. Godly option. One step closer to divinity option is Putin did it because he is a CIA spy sent to destroy Russia from the inside. So, yeah. They also destroyed the Estonia pipeline now too. Oh yeah, that too. I'm kind of pissed off about people thinking it's actually America, to be honest. There's something disrespectful about the fact that they are looking at USA being useless. And then going, yeah, USA definitely did this huge thing at the start of the war with destroying Nord Stream. Like, we're talking about people who are still fighting over, how much aid they're going to send Ukraine and whether Ukraine can hit targets inside Russia proper or not. Come on. I wish they had the balls to just go and blow up Nord Stream. I wish. That would have been probably the biggest move any of Ukrainian allies have made, right? I wish. I very much doubt it. You claim every shit here and there. That too. Now, the Seymour Hersh thing was ridiculous. I was thinking about it today. You know how stupid that is? And how stupid it is to fall for that. Can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine a situation? Like, you open your newspapers today. And you see criticism from one of your writers, one of your own investigative journalists. And he goes, yeah, guys, our country is falling apart, actually. Our country is falling apart. I have heard it from our own top officials that our country is falling apart. I have actually heard from very confirmed sources that our president has taken a shit on a garden hoe. I hear he has fucked a hedgehog. I hear he has taken a shit on a door handle. He thought it would be very easy to take someone else's dick and beat nettles with it. Wasn't really easy, was it? Can you imagine reading that? And then not immediately figuring out this man is taking information from an enemy of your state, in this case, Croatia, because I don't know anyone else's idioms. Well, like, can you fucking imagine quoting him later? That was a lie. That was such an open lie. And people still go around like, well, here's Seymour. He won some awards for journaling, so his sources are proper on this. No, they're not. No, they're fucking not. Evil Ukraine supporting both bloodthirsty Israel and giving weapons to Hamas. No, but like the best thing is that Ukraine has consistently voted in UN for supporting the territorial integrity of Palestine. Ukraine has been based. Ukraine legit has been based on this. Ukraine has defended Israelis' right to defend themselves from terrorist attacks and also supported Palestinian right to have their own state. Ukraine has been correct on this. Criticism on Ukraine over this thing is just laughable. Open wiki stream and I hear the look. You gotta hear some dicks every once in a while, okay? That would be another idiom though to use. That would be another idiom. Our president, guys, I hear from confirmed sources, our president walks around with a condom on his head because he wants to be some dick in the room. Can you imagine reading that in your own language and not immediately discrediting the dude who's writing it because he's being fed foreign information? No. I still see fucking Seymour Hersh quoted around as if he's not absolutely useless. Is this gonna be... This part was a bit of interesting TOS friendly nature. I mean, yeah, common statements in Russian media is also genocide, praising Batina. Netanyahu, he said something about Jewish connection of 4,000 years to the Holy Land, himself being a grandkid of Polish Jew. His father's surname was literally Mlajkowski before he changed it to blend in. I mean, there could be a possibility. There could be a possibility his family had to change their last name to blend in, right? Hey, they shouldn't be TOS, but it is twitch.tv. Until very recently, they were allowing Grisha to crowdfund for Wagner PMC. I think their level of liking Russia maybe a bit more than it is here. I'm just saying. Maybe we shouldn't base the way we see Twitch behaving as on the way that we would like them to behave. Fuck, I had something about Israel and I forgot about it. Oh, yeah. I found if you remember yesterday, we had a conversation about Hamas. I actually found the video that I was thinking about. I found the video I was thinking about. Found a few of them, but I found the specific one that I was thinking about. Let me try to find it again. It's a specific Palestinian politician. Let me try to find it. And I think she actually gave an interesting, how do I say that? I think it's a rather nuanced take on it. But I think it's really, I just want to say it's interesting how she describes the relationship between Palestine and Hamas. Vegans agree, true. That's why vegans are based, because they're okay with killing plants. Vegan food is actually alright though, guys. I don't know if you've ever tried vegan food, but it's actually alright. Before this can move forwards. Oh god. Yeah, I'm trying to be very minimal on Al Jazeera, especially when they present articles around. I'm trying to be very, very, very minimal on them. I'm okay with quotes being presented. It's yeah. It would be if you use Sputnik to quote what Peskov said, right? I think that would be okay. But you would never use it to actually comment on the real events, right? I'm hoping. I'm okay with that until I'm not. Until you're not involved. Until they leave you out. I'm okay with gay sex until they forget to invite me.
People under siege. Look at Gaza. It's an area where people haven't had a day of normal life. And then when they lash out, when they break out,
Some Arab journals temporarily banned access to their English version. Oh,
Citizens'
the
legitimate
problem
targets.
is using, as I said, this logic. Using this logic.
I just want to be clear. Are
why
you
would you do that?
saying- be clear, are you
What
saying that the
good
Israeli
would come out of
citizens
it?
were legitimate targets?
After you admit it? Nah, it's actually alright. You know what I found though?
At all. In the same way as we
You're not listening to the lady speak. You're not listening to the lady speak. I have another video by her too. Another video where she also speaks. I think she has an interesting view of the thing. But
is the double standard.
I think there's something actually really good about vegan food when they're not trying to make it meat.
Since 1947,
When they just accept it's not. This one, and then I have this one, and then I have this one. I thought it was really, really good thing. The whole situation with like describing is this the one, by the way? I'm thinking of a specific video of hers where she describes how big Hamas is. Which also, by the way, is an interesting point when it comes to a lot of analysis over Israeli actions right now, because they will not be able to take down Hamas. They will not be able to take down Hamas. It's not a realistic goal. They won't be able to do that. Like I at this point I'm not sure what's like the most likely outcome of this whole situation, but it's not going to be destruction of Hamas. I thought that video was this one, I think. This one, yeah. Who do you think will replace Hamas? This one. This one.
be removed from the Gaza Strip. Do you know what Hamas is? Hamas is a big movement. Hamas has a military wing and has an armed wing. And Hamas has institutions. Hamas has government, which they, of course, shelled and destroyed, all the ministries. Hamas has a women's movement, has a student movement. It is part of the very fabric of Palestinian life. How are they going to remove it? Excuse me, are they going to kill all these people? And are they going to undermine Hamas in their own people's eyes? No. If you ask the people of Gaza, they say at least somebody stood up for us. Somebody stood up and did something.
Yeah, no, they actually are quite interconnected with civilians.
Palestinians, they are not weakening Hamas.
They're quite interconnected with civilians around.
They are weakening the PLO and they are weakening all the people who embarked on a negotiations path and who said all we have to do is be nice and the world will sit up and listen. It didn't happen.
Like I understand what she's saying. I don't agree with her views on the situation, and I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of the hypocrisy argument being used in these conversations. But I didn't really think about how big Hamas was until I saw the clip, to be honest. I didn't really think about it too much. And I still didn't look into it. I've been wanting to look into like their size for a couple of days, and I always like have something else to look into. But I understand what she's trying to say, and I have seen very similar opinions from what's the man's name? He's been commenting on Ukraine a lot, but he has originally been commenting on Israel Gaza. Oz. Found him. He also had really good, I think, analysis of the situation in the last few days. He was quite realistic on it. But also, yeah, he is also acknowledging that this is not a functioning strategy to destroy Hamas. It's not going to work, right? It's not going to happen. They're going to stay around. Oh, I don't think she meant to say they aren't that bad. I think she was trying to say that you can't, because they are so interconnected with society, you can't get rid of them, right? Like the fact that they have women's movement, like, whoa, you're going to try to get rid of all women who were a part of the organization, who cooperate with the organization, because a lot of them cooperate with the organization, right? They have a students movement, so what you're gonna be? You're gonna be targeting all the students in the area? It's not realistic. It's not like Hamas is, a group of, I don't know, 100 people, and it's just that group, and they're just like isolated from the rest of Palestinian society, and you can just bomb this group of 100 to get rid of them. It's not like that. You can't possibly get rid of Hamas, but what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? It's not a realistic goal to go towards. It's like with, plenty other terrorist organizations when it comes to that. There's really no realistic way of attempting to get rid of them through this sort of violence. You have to figure something better out. They didn't get elected because they're terrorists. They get support because they provide social benefits to their supporters. Yeah, like that. It's not like they killed 60% of all the people. Yeah, true. The Nazis did lose the war, and did lose the war quite badly. So, under an ideology, once Hamas is killed, the ideology is still there unless you reform the population, yeah. Like, doing that, I feel, would be rather interesting. I mean, even for Germans, we had, like, years, didn't we, of constantly reminding Germans of what happened in World War II. I know we had it here in Yugoslavia too. I imagine it was even like worse in Germany. I don't exactly know how intense it was. Here in Yugoslavia, we were taught about Ustaše crimes regularly. There were visits to the camps, they were watching videos of the camps. There was just like constant talks about, hey, this is what happened in our history. We got formed as a country by a man who was fighting against all of this. We have to remember it so it doesn't happen again, right? So, Hamas cancer is deep into cousins. I mean, that would be a correct statement, right? Extremism of any country is not always confined in a small part of population. It's like when I think about Croatians and Ustaše, right? Ustaše was not a huge movement. Ustaše was not a huge movement, right? It had a strong amount of people in it, but could you say it counted all of Croatian population? No, not really. But when you talk to people from these areas, almost everyone had a grandfather who was in some way helping Ustaše. Almost everyone had someone who was acting as an informant, or who was, helping the military get their food and resources and helping with the logistics. Almost everyone knew someone in society who wasn't part of the actual military, wasn't part of actual Ustaše, but was involved in some of a way. Now, even if you had a chance to do a Thanos snap, and if you killed all of them, these people would still remain, and a lot of them ideologically agreed with what Ustaše were thinking. You would not be able to get rid of the ideology anyways. The group would form again, especially if people continue to feel oppressed. Extremism would rise again, and the group would form again. It's very unrealistic to try and, destroy it by bombing. No side that is analog to Nazis in Israel-Hamas war. Yeah, I can see that. It's not as black and white as World War II was. Yeah. Your Discord didn't notify you. I'm sorry. I've sent it. I have a role thing though for people who want to get notifications. I don't know how it works. What? Malaysia? Go to regular school? They can only go to government surveillance school? Ooh. Is there any benefit to that? Is there any actual improvement coming from that? Or is it just like, yeah. What's the reasoning? after Gazans are cleansed of Hamas, it would take them like decades to free themselves from the poison, like German said. I think a big part of it, though, also, again, was Germans were not in a similar situation to what Palestinians are in currently. I think it would be interesting to, maybe compare this a bit more deeply, but Palestinians genuinely see themselves as peoples whose entire right to exist is at stake. Hinkle. Sorry, Jackson, I'm not a escort. No, not your type, really. Is he looking for a new one, though? I'm almost surprised he didn't find one from, like, Palestine. I'm almost surprised he didn't go and find a Muslim wife for himself, at least. Now that, he's getting kind of bored of talking about Russia constantly. Or maybe Muslim escorts aren't that easy to find. I don't know what's his problem. But yeah, it would take them decades. But I think also, again, like as she has said, the way Gazans support. I don't know if you look at the polls, but Gazans tend to support Hamas more when something very violent happens because they see Hamas as proper representation of Palestinian struggle for freedom, right? Even if you bomb Hamas out of existence now, if down the line you continue to be ignoring Palestinian players to have their own land, they will continue feeling oppressed, and as long as they continue feeling oppressed, they will continue to be seeking someone who can properly represent them and who can properly fight for their own right to exist. You're not getting rid of extremism in that situation. Oh yeah, the anti-Semitism definitely is getting more encouraged, absolutely. And to be fair, it has quite a fertile ground in Europe. It's not... I think a lot of people we're seeing recently talk about Jews were strongly anti-Semitic before. They were just waiting for an excuse. Iran has found just strong allies in our imbeciles. You think Americans will erase Iran these days? I would love to believe Americans are gonna do something. I would love to believe they're going to do something. I don't really, but I would love to believe they will. What is this? When was this?
Paragliding flight. What does it tell us? You can fly here. You can kayak. You can horse ride. You can swim. You can surf. Everything is possible in Gaza. Once we have free Palestine.
Oh well, man has also given them more ideas. You can kayak. Don't know. If pushed them, oh yeah, if pushed enough, Americans could wipe out all of us. Now, I'm disappointed in how sensitive their button is. You know, it's like you have to push. You have to hit it. You have to actually hit them for them to react. And I'm quite disappointed because we're talking about a nation that's supposed to be a protector of a lot of us, okay? When we sang Thank You USA, we weren't joking, we actually were thanking USA. We genuinely saw them as a nation that's going to be protecting us. So to see them be so cowardly, it's kind of concerning. It's a bit concerning. Like if you take today's USA and if we go back to 1999, they wouldn't bomb Belgrade. They wouldn't do that. They would write a letter they would do a little speech about how genociding nations is bad. And that would be it. That would be the whole thing. It seems like they went from a really, really strong nation to... So did lots of European states, to be fair. A lot of our states are useless, and they have no excuse to be, but Americans do. Americans will have new civil war, you think? I stopped believing in their civil war thing when Obama was leading the country and people were talking about a civil war forming in USA, and it didn't happen. And then they were doing the same thing when Trump was supposed to be elected, and it again didn't happen. And then they were doing the same thing again after last elections, and then again didn't happen. I think they like being a bit dramatic over this, but also, of course, I do think they have a lot of tension within USA. I don't think it runs deep enough to actually cause some sort of proper conflict within the country, like of civil war level one. Attacked internally with division, yeah, that's true. That's true. It's kind of silly how they fall for it, though. Kind of silly how they fall for it. Kind of silly how they just follow along. I don't know. You see them commenting sometimes on their dumbass social war issues, and you're like, really, USA? Really? Americans, really? Come on. Come the fuck on. I just saw them. Did you see them on Twitter these days with that AI generated image of that woman, and there's like a bunch of baby ghosts close to her? And they were like, oh yeah, look at this AI generated image. Saddest one ever created, because these are the ghosts of all the children that she has aborted. And then they're fighting over the dumbest possible conversations ever. You got half of them being like, yeah, abortion should be allowed at any single point ever because it's always a women's choice and it should always be allowed. You got the other ones being like, no, if there's a minor and she gets pregnant, she should still carry out the pregnancy even though she's very young, because abortions are always fucking wrong. And they just fight each other like two dumb apes. And then the people cheerleading on them are just fucking brain dead. It's such a weird thing, such a weird little culture. Oh yeah, Trump, to be fair, if we were not in a situation we are in right now, that would be based. The problem currently is that we're kind of really desperate, and it's a matter of life and death at a point. But if we reach a peaceful state of existence after this, I do hope that our countries get pushed into better funding. We were very lazy. We were very lazy Europeans. You gotta admit it, okay? We were fucking lazy. We did not do enough. Most of our countries did not do enough. It's an embarrassment. The war is happening in Ukraine, and we have to rely on fucking USA to help. And I know European Union recently, I think, passed over USA in funding, total funding. Right? There was something about European Union, but a lot of it was that we promised a lot of funds to come to Ukraine in the next few years. So we did well after a while. I think it's so embarrassing that we needed to be carried by USA for such a long time. I think it's embarrassing that we allowed Russia to get this close. We should have seen the danger previously. I think we should have been a lot better. I think we should have been a lot better, and we weren't, and it's inexcusable. It was a while ago. I remember seeing it, I don't know when, 2 weeks? 1 week, 2 weeks? Who knows? But I remember seeing the news about it, and it was like a big thing, which also is sad. It's a sad fucking thing that was a big piece of news, right? Hey guys, a big piece of news is that Europe is helping a European state finally in a bigger amount than what USA is helping them. Fucking sad, my dude. We should have been the leaders from the start. We should have been the leaders from the second this started. Come on. It's a sad little thing to brag about. Germany finally stepped up. France. It's always someone. You gotta have one troublemaker. We have Hungary though. We have Hungary. Fuck Hungarians. Talking about Hungarians. Let me find you stuff that I wanna show you. Let me find you the specific thing that I have to show you, which was you remember Orban bitching about European Union and talking about how he wants to be leaving it. Well, basically, European Union response has kind of been like, yeah, okay. Like you don't like it, you don't like it here, you don't think your country fits in with us. Oh, here it is, I found it. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs Security Policy, Joseph Borrell. He said no one obliges Hungary to be in European Union. Like, no one's forcing you, my dude. No one's gonna send tanks on your street. Just go. You wanna leave? Leave. Okay. Bye-bye. Which I thought was the best response they could have been given. It's kind of like with Musk. You know how Musk was bitching about European Union regulations? So at one point he threatened he's going to leave European Union market because he doesn't want to comply with our regulations. And the European Union response was, okay, see ya. And then he took back the words. I think it's a good thing. I think it's one part of our policy that I'm very happy about. I think we're not afraid to lose certain connections to sides that we know are weakening us, and I think that's really, really okay. I just wish we had these balls previously. Plus, I wish we had a more active approach. And the fuckers will not leave. They will not leave because they are being parasites and taking European Union funds. We need to kick them out, but we have no system to kick them out. It's just fucking shit. Are we supposed to accept a bunch of new countries when we can't even deal with Hungary? Yeah, that's a worst thing though. I saw analysis today comparing Ukrainian level of corruption with Hungarian level of corruption. And Ukraine is doing so much better. When you look, even if you look at like other European Union countries, when they joined European Union, they were around the same level of corruption as Ukraine is right now. Ukraine is not a uniquely corrupt country by any metric. But then when you compare Ukraine now to countries that have long been getting European Union funds and still haven't gotten any better, it's an excuse that is failing when we say, yeah, we can't allow these countries to join because they're so corrupt. Sir, there's Hungary in your ranks. What do you mean you don't like corruption? What's Hungary doing that? All they do is corruption. Literally nothing they have contributed to the union, apart from stealing your money. Come on. Moldavia? I kind of hope they will join. I hope for Moldova, I hope for Ukraine, and I'm hoping for Georgia. I'm really hoping for Georgia. Man, I would let those three in before I would talk about Balkans. I would switch to Balkans later. I would deal with the Eastern powers first. And then I would, come to the dark lands of Balkans to figure out what to do with Bosnia. Kind of sheep-like. I mean, aren't we all? Aren't we all? How many of our countries are not? Oh. Click on any country. Zoom in. Oh, holy shit, wait, I haven't even... How close do you go? Like this? 34? 36? We are 50? 33? 39, 39, 46. 28. Man, us being 50, I love it. I love it. What's Slovenia? 56, a bit better. 42, Hungary, a lie. Can I get 2023? I can't. Hey, but you know what's a good what's a good conversation about this index? It's an interesting one because it looks at perception. And here's the thing, good corruption is not supposed to be known to the general population. Basically, what we're seeing is that when a country starts tackling corruption, their ranking gets higher because people are more aware of corruption happening. So, you know, how realistic it is really, really depending. I'm very stunned by Hungary being 42, for example. Orban has single-handedly created the oligarchy of Hungary. It's literally a kleptocracy. 42, but I think it's 42 because it's doing nothing to fight corruption, so people perceive it as less corrupt. Depends on them getting their economy and government in order. And right now, they're not in a state to join. I do think that I'm okay with having certain demands. I'm okay with having certain demands of new members of European Union. I think it's unfair to demand stricter standards than what we have demanded previously or what we want to see in our members, you know? Like, can you really be like, oh, if you're a corrupt country, you're not allowed to join? Can you really say that with Hungary in your ranks? I don't know if you can. I don't know if you're okay. Kind of seems unfair a little bit. What Berlusconi wanted to be in Italy? Ooh. Least corrupt. I mean, yeah, he's 42, I guess. I guess there's not many others who are foreign, who are, you know, above him on the list. Vucic even being lower. Orban is the leader of Turkey. That's true. That's true, by the way. That's true. I learned about it very, very recently. But yeah. The worst thing is that I genuinely confuse them sometimes. Because in my head it's just like authoritarian states. I probably would have done the same thing. They were satisfying the membership requirements when they joined. They took a hard downturn after. Yeah. It's kind of like what we did. We satisfied all the requirements, we joined European Union, and now our judicial system is crap. But no one can do anything. Because we're already members. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Kick us out? You don't have a system to do that. Americans, you think? Greece did not satisfy membership requirements, but the motherfuckers cooked their books to join, and now bitches they are screwed. Okay, yeah, that's true, that too. Orban used to be quite liberal. Yeah, that's why I think it's an important conversation to teach people about recognizing populism when it happens. Because the same situation was true for Putin. When Putin got into power, he was the democratic person. He was the one who was like, yeah, let's allow our people to vote, let's go away from the Soviet Union days. And people supported it. And, you know, then he kept destroying the country, but after a while, he just kind of sat on the throne too tightly and no one is able to get rid of him now. Oh shit, yeah, Erdogan too. I mean, Vucic too, if you think about it. Vucic too. Vucic had a very strong pro-European Union thing, and then he took a strong turn around it. Surprised World War III hasn't started yet? The reason you're surprised is because you have forgotten that USA is a pussy country now. You still think they have some sort of bravery within themselves. They don't. Hamas trained in Iran? Even now, Iran is helping Hamas with intelligence. You know who else I've seen is helping them? It's Russia. Go and beat their ass. Come on. Turkey? Yeah. Turkey applied years ago. Turkey applied years ago. Turkey is still waiting to be accepted. No one wants them. I would be okay. I would be okay, mostly because I wonder what would happen. I wonder what would happen if we allowed Turkey in European Union. I think it would be a nice little social experiment, just to kind of see how it goes. Nuke everyone? Take us in Middle East. Go and bomb Belgrade. Man, I hope the man hits while he still has the power to order it. Oh, death penalty and religion laws? Makes sense. Not a proper secular state, is it? That would make sense. What would NATO do when a country yells Article 5, we are under attack? Article 5, what happens? Depends which country. Depends which country it is. Also depends depends how much how do I say it? I guess that's also like part of depending which country, but it depends how much danger the important countries see to their own asses. That's how I'm seeing it. Depending if NATO has bases in that country. Could be that too. Like the pretense of having to protect their military intelligence would be quite a strong reason to go and defend, right? I could see that. Is that why Finns were so hyped about having a NATO base? You remember that they volunteered, one of the villages volunteered to have a NATO base built there? Is it because of that? They were like, oh, if Russians attack us, the rest of NATO is just going to be like, oh, too far away. Too far away, we're not going to fight, guys. No. But if there's a NATO base here, the Russians could actually get your military intelligence. Do you want that, USA? Do you want that? Do you want the Russians to get that dirty little hands on everything that makes you have no healthcare system? We might be obliged to help you. I don't like the way NATO has been acting pussy like. I genuinely don't believe they're going to do much. Morocco, maybe. I mean, it's just Russia, isn't it? Who else would be our enemy? Who else? I don't think anyone else would that. Oh, they might discuss it. That's true. Hey guys, an attack on our people has just happened. Oh shit, we need to start a discussion. And then they keep on the discussions happening until one side loses. And then when one side loses, they come out of the room and they're like, guys, we have finally reached a closure on our discussions. We give an award to the winners. Doesn't matter who they are. We give them an award. Hey, my alcoholism talk though. How dare you? How dare you not speak to me about it? I wanted to teach you about your people's problems with drinking.
When you search through history books, you will find many anecdotes on the role that alcohol and other addictive substances played in shaping societies throughout human history. The pharaohs...
Yeah, I saw Elon being an idiot. Elon thinks... How was it? Elon thinks Russian speakers in occupied areas want to join Russia. Elon thinks there have been no partisan actions in the occupied areas. Elon thinks elections should be allowed in occupied areas so people can decide to join Russia if they want to. Elon, whenever he speaks, he shows himself to be dumber than what we thought. It's almost an art form at this point. It's almost an art form. Like, I hear that man speaking and I'm genuinely kind of hyped because I know he's going to say something new and very stupid. He had a conversation with that really, really stupid dude from USA, Vivek. Vivek, I think, is his name. horrible takes from both. Like, horrible takes from both of them. Redundant sentence, yeah, that's true. It's a unique form of being an idiot, though. He was an idiot against Ukraine previously. He did comment on a lot of things that were very, I don't know if questionable makes them sound too good. That they were very horrible. So he was already sus before, but I didn't expect to see him that goddamn stupid, truly.
Egypt paid their farm laborers in bread and beer. Greek wine was one of the most prized commodities of the ancient world, so when the Carthaginians sold their low-quality wine abroad, they falsely labeled the amphoras as Greek wine. The British notoriously forced access and control over the 19th century Chinese economy by illegally selling opium to its people. But no historic relationship between a society and an addictive substance is as fascinating, sinister, and barely talked about as the relationship between Russia and vodka. There is nothing special about vodka. It has no taste, no flavor, no smell. It's just ethyl alcohol,
That's
simply
what's special
produced
about
from
it.
wheat or rye. And these simple, not too special facts of vodka is exactly what made it so special. Its simplicity allowed it to be produced and consumed en masse by simple peasants throughout Eastern Europe beginning in the 8th century. Any peasant could make it and any peasant could sell it, until the 1480s. Until then, the lands we know as Russia were a set of small independent principalities and kingdoms, until Ivan III became the ruler of the Duchy of Moscow and by conquest united the principalities under one Russian kingdom, of which he became the Tsar. Ivan established a centralized government with a centralized autocratic rule controlled by the king. And as he built his
new
state,
beer news.
he noticed
Are you
the
gonna try them out
popularity of
immediately?
that cheap, intoxicating
Did you order them
spirit
already?
amongst his peasants and had an idea. He banned the production and sale of alcohol by peasants and declared the production and sale of alcohol a royal privilege. All alcohol was now the property of the Russian crown and could only be produced
royal
by
privilege.
and bought from the Russian crown. This was a guaranteed source
great.
of revenue for the Russian royal family, a monopoly on a cheap product that everyone wanted and which could be very cheaply produced en masse. Throughout the centuries, the Tsars opened vodka plant after vodka plant, pumping out cheap alcohol while filling their own pockets. A system that was so profitable that when Catherine the Great rewarded lesser nobles for their service, she didn't give them land, but
She
vodka
gave them
production
vodka.
and selling grants to cash in on this lucrative monopoly. A system that lasted for almost 428 years. And the
She fucking gave them vodka. Good job, here's vodka. Rumored horse fucker. I mean, if you were constantly shit-faced drunk, you'd probably also fuck a lot of sus beings. You know that joke? That joke which is like, Mommy, why is like my skin color different than yours? And she goes, oh, son. Don't ask me too many questions. The type of a party it was, you're lucky you're not barking. Control over any media and technology the government needs control over. Pretty smart if that is what he aims for. Oh. When you say smart, interesting word choice. But I don't know what I'm seeing Elon as, to be honest. I don't know if he wants to get more power over the system. I don't know if he's using the best method. I don't know if he's using the best method to do it. I'm not sure. See, if Elon was a KGB spy, I don't know if he would be this stupid. and I'm not even joking. I don't know if he would be saying the stupid shit that he's saying. I'm pretty sure he would have a bit more bit better thought out propaganda, right? Because stuff he's saying, that's like idiot level Twitter knowledge. That's what it is. Like you see those first name, last name, bunch of numbers accounts constantly posting the same shit that Elon is saying. He's just repeating that. If he was a KGB agent, I would hope he would have something a bit more elegant, at least. When you distill your vodka in a bathtub, it will definitely have a taste. Why would you do that, though? Drunkenness from wine? No, drunkenness from wine is okay. Drunkenness... Store-bought wine, though. You're drinking store-bought wine. That's why it's crappy. Because store-bought wine is shit. They use a lot of things in it to be able to produce it a bit faster. So you actually can get horrible headaches after it. His face looks 100% trash. Man, he's just a little clown, isn't he? Supported by oligarchy around the world. I kind of want to see actually now his relationship with other actual people around the world. I know he has connections to Russians. I know he has posted images with their propagandists and everything. Oh yeah, but that was the Saudi deal, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken. Welcome's opinion and whining. But the background of history or in-depth reasoning of how to prevent or solve current geopolitical climate. Ah, that. Yeah, I think he's doing the thing. It's like you've seen a lot of Elon fans do this too. You know how when he got over Twitter for the first week it was unusable? Because whenever you would go to any sort of a post, the comments were just filled with people spamming the N-word because they could finally say it without being banned off Twitter. So the only thing that they were doing in their free time was going to every single post made by anyone and just spamming the word everywhere. I think what has happened is that people who think free speech is being allowed to scream the N-word into the abyss, I think they have gotten power over Twitter. And I think because their understanding of free speech is so goddamn stupid, we're seeing them do this sad little attempt of allowing all forms of speech, because Elon is supposed to be a free speech, what is called, absolutist, right? He's supposed to be allowing everything, but then you see him banning people for because they said an edgy joke about him, right? Or you see people posting the location of his plane. Was it his plane? I'm pretty sure. And then he bans them too, and then you're like, huh. But if you reported to him people who were posting locations of Ukrainian influencers, then he wasn't doing a thing. I remember it was around the start of the war. There was this one account whose entire thing was that she would be watching videos of Ukrainians who were making videos about the war, and she would post the exact location where they were filming. And she was always making jokes like, ha guys, if you have any rockets to send, send them to this location in Kyiv or something like that, right? If you went and reported these posts for inciting violence, nothing would have happened. But the second someone posts information about Elon himself, he bans it. Basically, I think people with a very primitive understanding of hate speech and why it's dangerous, and when I say people, I mean Elon, with this very primitive understanding of why hate speech laws are important and why it's important to be controlling for genocide denial, why it's important to be controlling for violence, encouraging violence, why it's important to be controlling fake news. A person with this very limited, very primitive understanding has been put in power over this entire platform, and he's kind of learning along the way, and that is not good enough. That is not good enough. The fact that he's slowly figuring out, for example, adding these new proper badges to some Twitter users, which are actually proper users, because he removed the blue badge thing, and then he made them so you pay for them, and then he figured it's a stupid thing, so now there's a whole thing with gold silver badges, whatever the fuck. Like, he's slowly learning. But I don't think that's good enough. I don't think the fact he's taking baby steps, I don't think it's good enough. All Twitter would ban for refusing to affirm some new gender identity. To be fair, I don't think that's true. Because the way I've seen it, I've seen people claim that they were banned off Twitter for something like that. And then they post a screenshot of what they were doing. And they would, for example, purposefully go into a trans woman's post and constantly misgender her, purposefully, in their comments. Like it was harassment. And then they get banned off Twitter, and then they go, well, Twitter banned me and I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I just like said my opinion. No, you were harassing people. In most situations, it was just harassing people. And I think, again, very strong evidence of this was the fact that when Elon took over Twitter, all of these people felt free to speak their mind. And what did they do? They spammed the N-word. They spammed the trans suicide jokes on all trans posters on Twitter. That's what they were doing. That's what their free speech idea was. Being able to harass people without anything happening to them. So, yeah, for me, I would be controlling for them fully. How many accounts do you have? Holy shit. Do you get banned off streams a lot? Is that why you have them? Do you go harass people a lot? If I check your accounts, will I say that you're banned off every single stream ever? Shows how populists are just people who haven't grown up to see why the old people in power did what they did. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Zach banned you. Harassment is different than free speech. Yeah, true. I think very often people mistake one for the other. And I think Twitter users were perfect show this, you know? Again, with the whole thing with them being like, oh yeah, finally Twitter will not ban you for stupid shit anymore. Finally, now that I use Twitter, I will be able to speak my mind instead of having to censor myself. And then Elon takes over Twitter and their posts are just N-word spammed 10 times, and then all the comments being other people spamming the N-word 10 times, caps lock. That's it. That's what I think free speech is. That's what they were happy about Twitter allowing. Yeah. Same tendencies as their leaders. They stress test the barriers institutions have. I think if they were aware of what they were doing, like I could see why you would want to test them. I guess I could see that. But I'm pretty sure they just genuinely think they have been silenced by these institutions for speaking their opinion. Hey, by the way, do you go to Zach's chat a lot? Because I've seen people, I think it was yesterday, dunking on him for him saying something about Israel. And I still haven't watched the stream. I was kind of wondering what his opinion was. I just saw at one point of his live stream a bunch of comments are suddenly like, ooh. Hungarian parliament rejected a proposal to vote on Sweden's application. Of course they did. Of course they did. The idea that they would allow it would have been way too impressive. Never trust Hungarians. We need to, you know how the first rule of engaging properly with your emotional responses to what's happening in the world currently is that you should never expect anything from Russians. By the way, that's a thing that I want to mention at the start of the stream. If you have seen those videos of Russians leaving their military and refusing to fight, you've probably seen it. It's like, oh, look at all of these Russians. They're so brave. They're leaving their military because they're not getting paid enough. Oh, they are surrendering. And then there has been a lot of posts of people being like, oh, wow, well, maybe more Russians leave their military now. This could be a big turn on the battlefield. Don't get hopeful. It's Russians. Every single time until now, when we had a crumb of hope in the Russians, what did they do? They betrayed us. every single time. This whole story with like, oh, look at them, they're surrendering in big numbers. This was spread before too. And they did not surrender in big enough numbers to stop killing Ukrainians. It was few isolated cases, that was it. And people look at these isolated cases, and like with Navalny team and like with Russian libs, they look at these and they try very desperately to create this illusion of having a reason to be hopeful in the future of Russia. Don't do that. Don't do that. These are few isolated cases, that's it. The rest of Russians are still very, very happy to go and genocide Ukrainians. Don't fall for goddamn illusions again. Chechen TikTok baby.
As much as this may sound like just a mere little interesting historic anecdote on a long-gone mercantile economic system, there is far more to it than that. Something sinister, the reverberations of which still echo throughout Russian society to this day. Alcohol is a poison, harmful to the soul and body. Therefore, it is a great sin to drink alcohol and to offer it to others. And it is even a greater sin to produce and sell this poison. This phrase is from Tolstoy. When Tsar Nicholas II had to rescind powers to an elected body in 1905, one of the first things the Russian liberals and social democrats who were newly elected into a position of power wished to do was to combat the massive alcoholism problem of Russia. The first step was to ask the famous and revered novelist to write a warning label to be printed on every single bottle of vodka. The Tsar, who owned the entire alcohol industry, refused.
I can cosplay a conservative. What would a conservative say to this? What would be a conservative take on this? What would be a conservative take? Scott and Nikki, who the fuck knows? Probably wants to suck off Putin. Maybe he shot his pants again and he needs someone to wash his underwear. But when I say Russia, I mean I usually mean Moscows. I mean St. Petersburg people. I mean actual Russians. I don't mean people from the republics. I don't mean minorities. I mean actual Russians. In most situations. Commies ban me when I just asked what does dialectic mean. No shit. Like not fun to... Russia is protecting their people from wokeism. Yes, true. Russia is protecting their traditional lifestyle of being able to beat up your wife whenever you want to do so. And also getting drunk very, very often. It was a thing in the whole of Europe for a while, it's a traditional thing at this point. I think a lot of republics of Russia are people who have had no chance to be better. Like the way I see it. Okay, the way I see it is Moscow and St. Petersburg people are intentionally evil. They are supportive of Putin and they are intentionally supportive of Putin. When you look at republics, it kind of depends. Like, for example, if you look at Dagestanis, I think Dagestanis did very, very brave protests against mobilization. They still couldn't do anything, really. Right? They still couldn't do anything because they're Dagestanis and they're very fucking poor and they have no power in the country. They still have been brainwashed into hating Ukrainians and into going into this invasion. And by all means, I will not shed a single tear for their men getting exploded on the battlefield. But I think that when you look at people from Dagestan overall, it's very sad how they have been used by the Moscows, right? In the same way, if you would look at Tuvans, if you would look at Chechens, I think the story of Chechens is heartbreaking. What Russia has been doing to them for fucking decades is ridiculous. How they have displaced their people, how they have put fucking Kadyrov in charge of them, how Kadyrov has removed the monument. Did you know that he took the monument? There was this monument with tombstones of Chechens killed by Soviets in their ethnic cleansing attempt. Kadyrov took that fucking monument apart, and uses the tombstones to be like little decorations around one of his palaces, villas, whatever the fuck right now. He's pissing on Chechen legacy. A horrible little man. Russia has been horrible towards these people. So the way I'm seeing it is like they hold a different level of responsibility. Still, when it comes to people who are actively involved in the invasion and actively going to attack Ukraine, by all means, may they, help the sunflowers grow. But when it comes to the republics themselves, I think that overall they carry a different level of responsibility than Moscows do. Like when we talk about people who, have no gas heating in Russia, have no water, have no roads, you're mostly talking about republics. You're mostly talking about these people. They kind of never really had a chance. It doesn't excuse that hatred, not at all. But if you're willing to look at the context, I think it says a lot. Oh! Russia, this one streamer, when he said both sides are bad, Ukraine and Russia are both evil, he literally said Russia seems better because they are saving them from trans people. Okay, shit. Fair. I mean, I see it. Oh. Religious framework, yeah. How come some random Buryatians from the village need protection from wokeism? They don't even have internet to get Western first world problems. They would get trans people though? If brave Russians were not here to go and do a little bit of genocide, all of those Buryatians would be trans right now. Do you ever think about that? Do you ever cry about that? You don't? That's your own mistake. Oh yeah, but like I think both of those are okay. Like when it comes to paying 10k to gays for not legally treating them as a couple. That's I think it depends on, how would I say it? Like the fact that they had to pay, I think it shows that it wasn't a case of the system itself not having a way to recognize them as a couple, but that they were just refused. Seems kind of weird they would get a fine, basically. Seems kind of weird they would get a fine. Ukraine is not in European Union yet. And even if it were in European Union doesn't make you acknowledge gay marriage. So that one thing would be quite interesting to read more about. But when it comes to the women thing, I absolutely support that. That's a fucking base thing to do. People must be bullied away from their stupid ass gender expectations. The whole idea of like pushing women into shame more, I think it's okay to bully men out of it. I think it was okay to beat them out of it. I see it, you know how I see it basically. The way I see it is that like the entire sentence, a woman could never be 10 out of 10 unless she shaves. I see it as a sentence coming out from the mouth of Andrew Tate. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. Like I don't think you could be a better man to say something like that. So for me, it's like, yeah, he got bullied. I'm okay with him being bullied. It's a stupid ass fucking sentence. Why would you even say that? Why would you be rating people on that sort of a scale? What are you doing, Andrew? Go back to Romania. EU human rights treaty? Yeah, but like Ukraine is not in the European Union. I'm not sure how strongly our laws apply to Ukraine. Ursula goes to everyone's door who doesn't let gay people fuck their ass. Wait, isn't that like that Russian ad? You know, they made that advertisement in which they were like, oh, European Union in the future. And the husband of the family has like a set date for his sex change operation, which was enforced by European Union. It's like that. It's like that. You just get, like, every single year, around 10% of your population gets a letter, and you have to do a sex change. If you get it twice, then you revert back. You talk to people for hours about Ukraine, and they don't care, but they see a TikTok of Putin saying Quran and Bible burnings are bad. And that's all people here need to love him. It's so fucking ironic though. Man has butchered Chechens. Man played right into the Muslim extremist myth to butcher Chechens. Man is bombing Syrians right now. Man has bombed a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria. He doesn't give a shit about Muslims. He doesn't give a single shit about Muslims. And still, man. Something that comes from a man who's just resentful, trying to get back at agenda for a single woman hurting him. Oh, so like Andrew Tate, probably. I was correct. It's like I don't know in what conversation you would say that sentence without wanting to be a piece of shit, right? Like what's a context in which you would say it without deserving to be bullied. Chechens really changed in the past 20 years. I think I have a view of Chechens as being used by Russia in a very similar way that Ustashe were used by Nazis. I think that's like the best I can explain this. I think they are being used because they're hoping that by sticking close to Russia, they will be allowed to have their own state. And I think they're deluded, and I think Russia is going to try to delete them anytime soon. If Russia did not have a war against Ukraine, it's just going to go and butcher Chechens again. I'm not even fucking joking about this. Putin gets more and more support whenever he makes his people feel more and more bloodlust. If it wasn't about expanding the empire, it would have been about strengthening the empire. He would have tried to go against the, republics which are not accepting the power of Kremlin over them. Chechens have said, I think it was Kadyrov specifically, who has refused to send his men for mobilization further because Chechnya already sent way too many people compared to other republics. I don't know why he's feeling safe, but he shouldn't be feeling safe. It's only going to take one move for Putin to again paint Chechens as Muslim extremists and to go in and butcher them. Bro, what's your opinion about women's armpits? Yeah, I mean, all red. What is it? Red pill? Red pill conversations? It's like, who the fuck talks about that? Who the fuck talks about that? It's like, kids? It's goddamn kids thing. The whole thing with like, oh, what do men want in a relationship versus what do women want in a relationship? That's something that high schoolers are debating. That's something that you'll buy like OK magazine here, sold for girls aged 12 to 16. That's what those magazines debate. This is not what an adult is talking about. That is not what an adult person is thinking about. Show with questions like boob or ass or something. I mean, very teenage-like. Very teenage-like, isn't it? Like that's a kiddies thing. That's a kiddies thing. What if 10 women, but with hair? In this case, some foreign singer that is in state of jungle. And also, personally, for me, it is gross. Oh, like that. I would bully anyone participating, to be honest. I would bully all parts of it. I'd bully everyone. I'd just bully every fucking one.
The Tsars, established over the course of 400 years, was not only a source of revenue. By controlling the entire market, they also determined the price and consequently kept the population drunk on a constant mass supply of cheap and widely available vodka. A peasant who wastes his money on vodka is too drunk to think of his situation and how he got into it, too drunk to organize any protest against his circumstances, so drunk he beats his kids into being drunks like him, and so drunk he beats his wife into submission. In the end, that peasant is a peasant in service of ensuring the security of the regime that keeps him drunk. The Tsars of Russia established a profitable system of state-subsidized alcoholism, which not only ensured them personal wealth, but the security of their regime. They were in essence drug dealers, or at least relied on the same addiction-fed
What?
market that a drug dealer would rely on. Alcohol addiction is a horrible disease. It increases blood
That's a Russian
pressure,
word.
inflamed and swollen blood vessels, kidney, pancreas and liver failure that leads to an excess of fat cells creating deformed abdomens. But far from just the individual effects, alcohol is
Is it
also
huge
part of a
balls?
vicious social circle of misery. Nobody wakes up one day and decides to become an addict. Addiction is preconditioned on misery and despair. It appears where there is despair and hopelessness, and perversely increases that hopelessness. The alcoholic not only becomes more hopeless and miserable themselves, but will contribute to the misery and hopelessness of those around him. Perplexingly, addiction on a massive social scale creates social strife and misery, while simultaneously robbing those affected by it of the means to do something about it. This is why the drug trade comes with violence, social decline and disaffection of communities, because it uses misery as an economic commodity. It is because of this, and largely forgotten today, that the Russian Communist Party was a prohibitionist party that advocated for the banning of liquor. In early Soviet propaganda, you will find this reflected, as well as in old Soviet movies, in which the revolutionaries smash liquor bottles as if they were chains that had constrained them. Leninism was strictly prohibitionist and declared alcohol to be a vice by which the bourgeoisie subjugated and controlled the proletariat. Consequently, after the
Kinda was
Bolshevik
true.
takeover, the Tsar's vodka plants were all shut down and closed. For a while. When Stalin seized power, he reopened the vodka plants, started filling bottles again, and distributed them cheaply amongst the public. Stalin pretty much rebuilt the old Tsarist system of subsidized alcoholism that the revolutionaries had tried to dismantle. He just renamed it to the People's Vodka. And a very
Bro, everything I fucking learn about Stalin, every single thing I fucking learn about Stalin, makes me more and more realize how stupid Western communists are when they like this man. Every fucking thing, like... I don't know if any goddamn thing that this man has done has been good. He basically, the little progress that Russia was able to do before him, he just took a giant shit on it. And that's it. That's the entire worth of his existence as a person. Nothing else. What is it with this man being liked so much? Like, for what reason? What good did he do? Back on the grind set. Either? But yeah, I'm too poor for a gambling addiction, and that kind of makes me sad. Ukrainian Batnik loving Stalin? Why? No, but like, genuinely, why? What did they think he did? Give me a shitpost. I love some communist shitposts.
Zaviri. Super sweet.
Croatian advertisements for shitposts. Talking about gambling addiction.
Which communists would you smoke with? This is a sequel of our last video, which US presidents would you smoke with? Everybody loved that video so much, we decided to make another one. I'm here with,
Luke.
Alright, let's get started. Vladimir Lenin.
Steve, the problem is, he said he was a strong advocate for sobriety, and he's still alcoholic.
Can use his bald head as a rolling thread.
This makes him a massive hypocrite, because he was a tweaker.
Yeah.
He was a massive tweaker. Me and him, we came to an agreement. Yeah. California sober only. So I saw how those pills were doing it. But I look over him at the sesh, and he's looked back at me with those eyes.
This one time, I was smoking up with Lenin, and I put a bit of dynamite at the end of his spliff, and it completely exploded on his bald head.
Looney Tunes style. He got his ass.
Would you smoke with Lenin?
That's a great question. I don't know. He's got very judgmental eyebrows, but also a kind demeanor. So I think he'd be a comfy man to smoke
Yeah,
with.
I gotta be in a Lenin vibe.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm not feeling Lenin, I'm not feeling Lenin.
Oh, they connected to victory in World War II.
I'd say I would smoke with him. I
See that?
come to a disagreement here.
The room is split. Next up, we got Joseph Stalin. You know his mustache stinks of Kiev.
It's going straight from there. The smoke leaves his mouth and goes straight
He was
up
a
into
symbol
that
of the end of the
flavor
monarchy.
He'll crop you out of photos.
Yeah, but like
Say
we
some
told
fuck
the
shit before he posts it on the crowd.
I mean, look at him. Look at that photo down there. Him hitting that
steps
shit.
back
doesn't pussy out.
that he
rips
has
the whole
led Russia
ball,
into.
which
Feels kind
actually
of weird that he's a
is
symbol
bad.
of that and not a
Because
symbol
they've
of the
only got one
revolution
ball.
failing.
You're like, okay, right. You just take the corner, then I'll take the corner.
The man has done nothing
He
proper.
rips the whole ball in one go.
Nah, he's greedy.
But you can't be mad.
The progress
Because
that
he milks
happened,
that
he
thing.
actively
It's like
tried to
beautiful when it comes out. The vapor fills the room.
Stop
I'm
it.
smoking with Stalin.
not just
You know
stop
what,
it,
you
but also
convinced me.
take
I
steps
think I'm
back,
smoking with
revert
Stalin.
to the previous
However,
form.
we got Leon Trotsky now.
This guy's dead.
Yeah, he's a flop.
W. Stalin, L. Trotsky, simple as.
He will roll Mexican style. He's rolling 70-30, and the 70 ain't weed.
He secretly fakes his hits though. He's a traitor.
He's a faker.
He wasn't just a traitor to the cause, but he was a traitor to the sesh.
And he'll die before the session's finished. You know what? This guy sounds like a terrible guy to smoke
He's
with.
a bitch.
I'm gonna give this guy a no.
Absolutely not.
Georgia should be
Because
embargoed
Mao
from
Zedong,
exporting
he's literally
dictators.
me. Chinese lungs. He needs a Puri to penetrate those tarred lungs.
Georgia,
Also
please.
Chunhua, yo, some real Chinese shit. This will kill white boys. He's chill as fuck. I'm absolutely smoking with Mao Zedong.
Hey guys, by the
There's
way,
no
I'm
doubt
seeing
about it.
BRICS mentioned in
You know what
chat
the CCP stands
a lot
for?
of times. I have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
Next up, Fidel Castro, president of Cuba, Caribbean boy.
I'm just
Now
waiting
he's
to see if there's gonna be
Come on,
data.
dude. I think we could answer this
Come
now.
on, come on.
We can answer this now. and say, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I would totally
The
smoke with
one
Castro.
big problem with Castro is you're gonna end up fucking.
That's true.
It's easy as.
Look at his eyes.
Oh my god.
Che Guevara.
T-shirt guy, absolutely. But he's always
T-shirt
got the
guy?
same damn fit on. He's never showing
Tito
up
is
with
two-faced?
new Veymont, Balenciaga, nothing. He's always got that bum.
I mean, you
ass
never know.
green jumper.
No, I know what BRICS is. I have no idea
It's a
what the
sneaky stone,
context
man.
of your conversation
Interferes
is.
in other circles. Oh, I'm in
I
Cuba
can't
now.
figure
Oh,
it
I'm
out.
in Bolivia.
I can't figure out what you're talking
Ethiopia,
about.
Fuck it.
Everywhere has
Like,
their
how
own rules
closely they are
decided, but
actually
he goes
connected?
over there. He brings his own decisions with him. He says, "Nah, you gotta pass that shit to the right." No, we all know it goes to the left, Che. We all know it goes to the left.
There are some pros, but there's so many cons. I gotta say no.
I don't know. He rolls some big ones. You see that? That is not a cigar. That is not a cigar.
I'm still saying no. Kim Jong Un.
Absolutely.
Hey.
Absolutely.
Hemp plants grow by the street.
Why is he
You are
called a
so
communist?
fucking dedicated to being a stoner.
I mean-
you make that a law in your nation.
He's cool as fuck, man. He hangs out with
You'd
Dennis
smoke with
Rodman.
Kim?
He's
That
got
is wrong.
mad connections.
Wasn't
He can get
Kim's entire
anything he
existence
wants.
just like,
A
let me
con
be,
is
let me
that
be?
He's got mad munchies. you
Fucking
know. Don't
dictator
pass
as much as
Uber Eats,
possible.
You're gonna get a bill of triple
Korean
digits
nipple
at
baby,
least.
yeah.
And he's not paying that shit back.
Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy.
Fuck this lame ass.
This guy's lame.
I'm not smoking with him.
You lose. Why is Hagia Sophia this, not this? It's great.
Last but not least.
Can I just point out Hassan embracing his Turkish nationalism is best Hassan. Best version of Hassan is this thing, okay? Anything else, when he like tries to get all deeply into conversations he knows nothing about, fucking ridiculous. He should just step back from that and he should be doing these screaming videos fighting with the Greeks. I would watch every second of that. I would give him a theatre sub. He should stick to doing that. He would be good at that. It would be kinda in his level of wanting to get educated on actual politics, so he wouldn't need to do too much research, right? I feel like he would be godly content, and instead he's trying to do whatever the fuck he's trying to do. Or the one that stays offline. But I like this too. I like him when he's like, you know, embracing it. He's embracing his Turkishness. I love it. I think it's a great thing. I think he should do that a bit more. Yeah, reacting to political shitposts. Yeah, dude, I would love that. We should do that. Dobson against the Russians. That too. The way he just gets all angry. Should get a fighter jet and go dogfight the Greeks.
You lose. Why is Hagia Sophia this, not this?
To be fair, a lot of Americans hate US.
It's great.
Last. but
Can't
not
move them all
least,
out.
The king.
Have you seen the MAGA people being like, I would rather be
Here he
Russian
is,
than
Karl
Democrat?
Marx.
He started this shit. He put you on. He put me on. He put everyone onto this shit. But he's a broke boy.
He's always broke. He's always talking about sharing and shit. He'll ask you to go tease
Fuck
on a
broke people.
cigarette.
So fuck off, dude. It's my last one. It's my lucky one. Whenever I'm rolling up, he's
By the
always
way, is
sat
it true
there,
his
he's
uncle
backseat
wanted to
rolling
get
it, which
politically
always
active in
making
USA? What was
criticisms,
it
but he's never
with
coming
that?
up with any solutions.
Hassan's
Man,
uncle.
that shit's flabby.
Was that a meme?
Like, okay, what do I do about it, Carl? It's like,
Hassan's
Using his books as
body.
rolling paper, but that's just him trying to make a profit.
Destiny's brain. Watch
So
his
many
voice.
cons. There's so many cons we
many
could say
cons.
about Karl Marx. But come on,
come on, dude.
he looks like Santa Claus.
Yeah, I see.
Well, that, I'm saying yes to Karl
Absolutely.
Marx.
I want
I
a
love how
green
that's
Christmas.
like no thought. Best bot
Nah.
out there.
Any final words you'd like to add? You think
Man's-
we made a
man's
productive
beautiful.
list here?
I think we
Not
definitely
really
covered some
too
important bases. Some people need
based,
to be addressed.
but
If
he
there's
looks very
anybody
nice.
we missed, leave it in the comment section below. Oh my god.
Second by you mentioned combat capitalism and comfy way. Running. Hassan, if you're watching this, can you send me some money? It's pranks. I mean, it technically is our money. Communism, guys, communism. Violent and genocide rhetoric. The thing is, you gotta know how to say stuff without getting banned, which is not really something that Dobson is good in. His uncle launched his campaign for president. Wait, was that a real thing or was that a meme? He actually launched it. Because I've seen people fighting about whether he could be the president in the first place. Why am I seeing people debate whether he could be the president? Are the laws of USA, is the constitution of USA written so vaguely that you genuinely don't know? Or we know he can't. So the debates were all for nothing? Because it was a weird thing. People were fighting around. Why fight about this? I'm pretty sure it has to be like very clear to answer. It's why. Senate at best. Okay, so he could be something. Yeah. The court case he references also says he cannot. Wait, I have 2 linkies to click on before we go back to alcohol. Fucking ads again, my dude. Fucking ads again. You know how many Croatians are making mad cash money over booking, by the way? Dog in a wheelchair ad? Fair. Some percent of Americans think Obama wasn't eligible. Why wouldn't he be? Aww.
Wealthiest country in the Balkan.
Slovenia?
Wealthiest country in the Caucasus.
Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd. Tigre luzido. Haydi. We don't need no education. We don't need no.
I feel attacked. Ours is better. Fucking loser. We won. We won. We won. We got better people. We won. We have better music, okay? Can I just... Can I just say that, in case you fell for this anti-Balkan propaganda, apparently, we have better music than that. We have very good music. We have very good... We have really good music. We got really, really cool shit. Okay? They're lying. They're trying to turn you against Balkans. Alcohol ban?
The American author Hunter S. Thompson once wrote, "We had 2 bags of grass,
He has that
pellets of mescaline, 5
voice.
sheets of high-powered blotter acid, a salt shaker full of cocaine, and a whole galaxy full of multicolored uppers, downers, screamers, laughers, and also a quart of tequila, a quart of rum, a case of Budweiser, and a pint of raw ether. The only thing that really worried me was the ether. There's nothing in the world more helpless and irresponsible
Persian
and
guy?
depraved than a man in the depths of an ether binge."
I'm always
Passage
interested in
leads
watching
the reader
hot
to two
Persian
questions.
guys.
First, what is so horrifying about ether that it put off one of history's most prolific drug enthusiasts? Second, if Hunter S. Thompson was scared to do ether, then who would do it?
I don't
First
even know too
question
much
we'll
about
get
it, to be
later,
completely
but
honest
as
with
for
you.
the second, well, ether swept the nation of Ireland and then spread to huge
Oh,
parts
the
of northern
Irish.
Europe. Before long,
Oh,
half
Ireland.
of Europe was basically obsessed with getting fucked up on ether. In some villages, addiction rates were over 90%. Ether was literally more popular than alcohol, and a lot worse in basically every way. Honestly, the stuff is crazy, and it's even crazier that people have pretty much forgotten about it completely. So, let's talk about the rapid rise and rapid fall of the world.
Fuck, wait, now I have to check how hot it is. I have to check the level of hotness. Have to check the level of hotness. Do I get ads on every fucking video I open at this point? I thought I would get it on every second, third, or whatever. It's everyone. It's every single one. Where's my dude?
Such as classical music, most Turkish music,
Ho!
Iranian music, Balkan music, etc.
Good taste in men, my dude. I did not expect that.
He's not a specialist, he's just a cat.
Man's looking good. Man's looking good. Man's looking real good. What's Jesus doing?
This video
Looking real hot, I guess.
As our basis. Usul.
Fuck, I wanna do. Can we do a week of streaming on music just so I have a reason to watch this dude? Look at this man. He reminds me of someone, by the way.
Is the central word behind our discussion today. Usul is basically the word that denotes the codified sets of systems that regulate the usage of rhythm within the...
He reminds me of that one dude. There's a YouTuber, I'm not sure which country he's from, but he makes videos on how to play a guitar. And he reminds me of this one.
Tradition. Now, how usul is taught to students, how it is explained, is through specific words. Dum means a single, long, deep beat, and tek means one long, high beat. So let's suppose that our dum is this, and our tek is
Lebanon
this.
guy? Could be. I don't remember where he
Dum,
is.
tek.
Where he is from, because my boyfriend watches him for guitar learning. But then he recently made some political posts on Israel-Palestine, and I thought he was kind of based. So I did the binge watch of a couple of his videos. I grew a new interest in the man. But I genuinely don't know where he's from. What do you mean stop drooling on YouTube? Why would I use YouTube if not to watch very hot men explain stuff to me? This is why Hassan would be perfect if he was in some more entertaining role. I would have a reason to go and watch him. When you have an exam in 8 hours but you still don't feel like learning. Exam. Court case Tseng brings up to argue is about a law in the 1970s that made those who acquire citizenship stay in the US for 51% of a year every few years or risk losing citizenship. This was deemed unconstitutional, as the Constitution does not discriminate between natural-born citizens and others except the constitutional requirement for presidential candidates to be natural-born. Oh. So the case he is pointing to, not a piece of meat. Look, some people just have the added benefit of looking really good while they explain nerd shit to you. Okay, it's okay to point it out. But yeah, I'm guessing he heard about the case, he presented the case, never really read it. Kind of weird though that's your only, like, interesting. It was so clearly outlined that a person who is naturalized citizen cannot become president. Kind of interesting. That was such a big point. How to fuck up a kebab? Wait, but no, maybe man has really good kebab taste. How do you know he doesn't? For the son of Prince Harry to become president, he would have to give up his royal title or get the approval of Congress to retain it. So it's unlikely for the US and UK to be united in a personal union in the future, despite his son having American citizenship through his mother. Oh. But wait. Are the kids of Prince Harry royals? Was there not something about them being kicked out of the family and not given royal titles? Or am I wrong on that? Hey, I don't know anything about Cenk, by the way. I know nothing about his views. Hey, Rudy! I mean Rudy. He's based, I love him. But yeah, I know nothing about Cenk. I know nothing about his views. I would assume his views are similar to Hassan's views. I know Hassan's views tend to be shit on some topics. Yeah, I don't know. To be fair, Hassan, I think Hassan is like okay when it comes to how smart he is. I think he just, I think he's grifting. I don't think Hassan's problem is a lack of ability to understand topics. I think he is grifting, and I think he knows what his audience wants to hear. And I think he chooses to say it out loud because he wants to keep the support. I think he knows what he's doing. You know, I wouldn't see him as a dumb man. Yeah, uses his intelligence to slime away from things. That's a good way to say it. Yeah. His friends' choices. I don't know who he aligns with. I know he bullied Ethan, dude. I know that happened. I don't know who his friends are, my dude. I have no idea how into Twitch personal relationships between streamers go. I know he's GG with Pokimane. I know Pokimane's chill. But I don't know about his friendship with other streamers. He was scared of Hinkle at some point, that he would steal his audience. Well, I mean... They both do grifting, so, you know, same type of content, right? Oh, you mean IRL? Oh, then I know even less. Does he have friends IRL? I mean, he's very rich, I assume he does. I would be his friend IRL. Man has a lot of cash money, he could probably borrow me some. He's smart because he's able to blend into the political ecosystem. But that doesn't require a lot of intelligence. Could see that. Like he would give you any... Look, I feel my level of intelligence is good enough that I could persuade him that to be a good socialist and a good communist, he needs to give me some cash. I feel we could have a debate on that. Like stream a debate night. Should Hassan give me money? Yes or yes? He's not overtly pro-Russia, but all of his viewers somehow are. Yeah, it's... I think that's part of grifting. It's you don't want to say your opinions too strongly. I think it's kind of like with Jordan Peterson. I think it's similar to that. it's this way of existing where like you're not going to be saying your opinions too strongly. You will be softly alluding to them and in a way that is vague enough so you would get followed by extremists, but also so you get followed by normal people. I think it's a part of that whole, you know, rhetoric thing. He says very, very soft shit on Russia, but I think he does it intentionally. What do you think about Russia? I think it's a shithole. I think their people should be paying reparations to Ukraine for the rest of their lives, and so should like the next 2 or 3 generations of Russia. Fuck 'em. Peterson went kinda unhinged. Yeah, Peterson. To be fair, he has been a bit... You know how I see Peterson? Not the way I see Peterson. I think he's an old little man who was not prepared to be in the mindset of grifting, but he tried grifting anyways because he likes the idea of having an audience to listen to him. So he tried doing it, but then he went overboard. That's kind of the way I'm seeing his actions. It's like, I mean, you have like questionable people in your family probably, right? You got some people who are like politically interesting. Imagine that on one of their mild politically interesting takes, they get a bunch of fans, right? On one of those like mild ones, soft ones, they get a bunch of fans. What they would likely do is they would finally feel like someone's listening to them, and they would be growing more and more extremist, and they would be trying to say more and more shit that aligns with this audience because they don't want to lose this audience that they have gotten. And I kind of think that's what is happening with Peterson, because there's things that he sometimes says that don't go along things he used to be saying previously. The whole thing with like, oh yeah, if a woman wears makeup to a workplace, she's basically, I wouldn't say inviting, she is provoking men into harassing her because men are unable to control themselves. I think he goes directly against the views he expressed in his book, which was that you must be able to apply certain order over your actions and over your life, and you are the person responsible for how your life is going to be. You know, you can either be miserable little fuck and cry about everything, or you can just take the matters in your own hands. It is my real opinion. Fuck Russia. It is my real opinion, absolutely. My people have been the victims of Serbian aggression in the 1990s. I feel the suffering and the fight of Ukrainian people very strongly. I feel their fight currently is very, very similar to our fight. The difference being that, you know, we were very privileged in contrast. We were very, very fucking privileged, and we still have had to fight incredibly hard to be able to get right to our own state and to our own freedom. So what is happening currently with Russian invasion on Ukraine is fucking inexcusable. The lack of action all of us are doing is goddamn inexcusable. We all should do more. We all should have done more. I think we all should feel responsible for the situation that's happening. And in the same way, I think Russians should feel responsible for allowing this situation to be happening, because they allowed Putin to stay in power. They allowed him to stay in power, they allowed his government to do butcherings in years previously, and they are allowing their government to do a butchering now. His downfall could be aided by his wealth. I think he became a lot more unhinged after his de-addiction treatment. Could be that too. Could be that too. I'm an ordinary person who lives in Russia, cannot influence the authorities. No, I think nations are responsible for their governments. I think a nation is responsible for a government. If you ask me on how you think, how I feel about the nation, I feel the nation of Russia is responsible for their government, and I feel the nation of Russia must be paying for the crimes of their government for at least 2 generations to come. That's the way I feel. It wasn't a question on how I feel about you personally. And on a personal level, I'm sure there's a lot of Russians that we could talk about whose views might have been okay-ish, might have been appropriate, might have been acceptable. As a nation, they're being useless. I believe in the idea of collective responsibility when it comes to these situations, and I believe Russia can get fucked as a nation. His takes on psychology were good enough, and then, he went into grifting. Passive political understanding. I don't know. Really though, like imagine if everyone had that fucking view previously. Yeah, nobody asked you, and nobody asked anyone else in Russia, did it? Nobody asked anyone there. Nobody asked any of your people on what to do and what to happen. But yeah, it's either about advocating in Russia against the government. You could always advocate against the government. You could always go to protest against the government. You could always speak out very openly about the opinions you're having on your government. The way I've been seeing it is that most Russians do nothing. Like if this was the view presented, if Ukrainians back in 2014 were like, oh yeah, well, Yanukovych broke the deal with European Union. Can I, a little civilian, influence the government like this? Maidan would have never happened. If Georgians had this pussy-ass view when the Russian law was being pushed onto their country, if they were like, oh yeah, me, a tiny little Georgian, I can't influence the Georgian dream, right? They would have never gotten rid of the law. Most nations that have democracy, most nations that have freedom right now, are nations that had to fight for it. Their people did not ask stupid, self-pitying questions when they had to fight for their democracy and for their freedom. They went out and they fought for it. When we look at the situation in Europe right now, most of us live in proper countries, live in proper modern democracies, because someone gave their lives for it. Like I had several of people in my close family who were fighting for Croatia in the homeland war. Had people who died for Croatia in the homeland war. People died to reach the situation where we are. Russia never had people who were willing to do something like that. Russia is just continuing and then trying to wash away all the responsibility. And as long as you wash away all the responsibility from yourselves, you will never reach any sort of a change. Last time Russia had revolution, USSR was born. That too. But I think it's like, you know how like when Serbia had a revolution against Milosevic and now they still have Vučić around? If a nation is, I think that's an example of a nation being politically active but still being into their ideology, which created the issue in the first place. Are you ready to take up arms and overthrow the government? Wait, what was the question? I didn't see it. Oh, you asked, are you ready for this? It's like, am I ready for this? So, if Croatia was doing a genocide, I would absolutely be out there protesting. What do you mean? If Croatia was doing a like, I went to protest for lesser things. I absolutely would go to protest if Croatia was doing a genocide. What do you mean? I went to protest for fucking economical bullshit, my dude. I went to protest just to kind of, for the crowd to seem a bit bigger, because I knew some protests would not get enough people on it. I would absolutely be out down the street if we were doing a genocide. My man. Doesn't even... I mean, no one should be loving Ustasha. Talking about the government of Russia, why would I be prepared to fight for Russians? I don't care about Russians. Your country is a shithole because you made it a shithole. It's not my business to go and fix Russia. I don't give a shit about Russia. I wouldn't go to protest for any other country's government to be changed. I believe in collective responsibility of the nation. I wouldn't go protest against Orban. I wouldn't go to protest against Vucic. If people of a nation want these people to be leading them, I don't see why I should be the one expected to protest against it. Like, I'm not seeing what do you think I should be prepared for when it comes to doing action in Russia. Can only see a government that waits and tells them what to do after the fall of USSR. Not sure what you're trying to communicate, my dude, but okay, I guess. Why ordinary people guilty who can't do anything? They can. They can. In the same way that... Oh shit, did I turn on the bot? In the same way that ordinary people in our countries fought to make them into proper democracies, ordinary people of Russia can do a lot. They're choosing not to. Like, you're choosing to be useless. You're choosing to be complicit. You're choosing to sit on your ass and do nothing. It's a choice, and because of that choice, I hope you will be having to pay reparations. Turned on the bot, I think now. Nice. Fair. But yep. Wait. I saw a video up there which was more on the topic, and then I lost it. And that was sad. And did I finish my oh, I didn't even finish my vodka one. Didn't finish my vodka one. Received one, has one. Again, ordinary people are guilty because they refuse to accept any responsibility upon themselves. The government of the country is the responsibility of the nation. Huh, is he really not working? He shouldn't be. He counted one. He counted one. And what is he doing? Is Twitch slow for you guys? I mean, yeah.
You got sent to Siberia.
My bot is slow for me for some reason. I don't know what he's doing. Like, he's turned on and everything. He's normal. I didn't change any settings. No, everyone should be able to strike. I changed nothing. But yeah, ordinary people make the government. It is the nation's responsibility to make a proper government. If a nation chooses to stand on the side and watch their government commit shit acts, the nation is responsible. The government of Russia didn't spawn into place suddenly. It's supported by the nation. Just like all of the other countries are, you know, in the same way that I am partially responsible for what HDZ does. I am partially responsible for what SDP does. Whenever a president says some stupid shit, I am absolutely partially responsible for that. In the same way, I think every single country should accept their responsibility for the governments that they have allowed to happen. Everyone can strike. Vips can strike. I planned to introduce a thing, but I haven't done it. I planned to introduce a thing so Vips can strike once per minute, like per person. So if you want to get someone silenced in chat, we would need at least 3 Vips to silence them. I think it would make sense. I'm not changing my rules. Oh shit, did I not change the flag? I did not change this. I did not change this. Oh, nice. Is this because I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean? Feels like that. Feels like that. I want to save my last brain cells. I mean, you still have the power, because I don't know how to change the... Not that I don't know, I haven't even attempted to change the rules. I had the idea yesterday, like it would be cool to make it so it's not like one whip who can silence someone, it has to be at least like 2 of them, for example. And then I just kind of forgot.
Very cynical move. The Russian people already had a people's vodka for 400 years. This series of events is commented on by George Orwell in his famous book Animal Farm.
Hey, this is a good book, by the way.
Scene, where the animals in their revolution destroy all the alcohol they found in the house of the farmer Jones, except for Napoleon, who steals himself away with some liquor. And the Tsarist system, which was re-established by Stalin, remained in place throughout the remaining 60 years of Soviet history.
I just
Its
read
effects
it
were
so many
most
times.
strongly felt starting in the 1970s and throughout the 1980s during the Soviet Union's increasing economic decline. In those days there was not much to work for, there was not much to celebrate. There was
I
a
also-
lost
I read it
war
'cause
still
I
being
love
fought in
animals. I was
Afghanistan,
like,
and there was
Animal
not
Farm?
much for the state to sell. But there was always money to be
Yeah.
made when socialism fails by selling bottles of cheap vodka to a miserable public. The recent HBO series Chernobyl did an excellent job at
no, it's
hinting
just-
to its
it's just
audience how by the late
drawing that away.
1980s Russian society had a deep-seated and systematic alcoholism problem. The Stolchinaya vodka bottles you see in the series are also somewhat famous, because you couldn't close them anymore once you took the cap off. They were made that way because in production the assumption was that the average Russian, once opening a vodka bottle, would finish it in one sitting, therefore closing the bottle wasn't necessary.
Do they mean
By
you
the late
can't close
1980s,
it?
the alcoholism problem reached such an extent that Gorbachev, in desperation,
What do they mean you
enacted
can't
a
close?
prohibition of liquor.
Does he
This
have one of
resulted in
those
the mass appearance of illegal vodka
like
plants
beer?
throughout the country and was therefore abandoned. Today, almost 30 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the problems remain. The system of
It doesn't
state-subsidized
say seal.
alcoholism no longer exists. The vodka plants, though, were privatized and are owned by
Nice.
oligarchs who still sell the vodka at cheap prices. No measures were taken by the Russian government to stem
We
the
need to
banal
start a beer
systematic
brand
alcoholism
with
and
the same
excessive
thing.
alcohol consumption of the Russian public. The ramifications of such are of course felt in crime rates, productivity, and social decline and misery. Russia will eventually not get around having to confront a legacy of 400 years of alcoholism. And this is more than just a history lesson, let alone restricted to Russia. Think of the current opiate crisis in the United States, how the current response to social misery is to dish out pills to help people
15.
stomach through their days and lives. How a fully legal dependency on addictive substances was created in the United States at a profit that uses social and individual misery as a market commodity. And more to the point, how it is largely ignored and not a topic of contention. Drug-riddled and miserable communities often find themselves within such a state because it is the misery and hopelessness that creates the perfect market conditions for addictive substances, which consequently increase the misery and violence while robbing communities of the ability to rid themselves thereof. The entirety of our understanding of addiction and how it plays into society through the ills it creates is largely flawed and dominated far too much by a judgmental standard that reduces the problem to individuals to be punished rather than social ills in need of solutions.
Man.
If you're interested in this
The one thing I got is that Stalin was worse than I thought he was before. And I already thought he was kind of shit. I don't know, dude. Just anti. Shit, which one?
Getting your master.
Fuck. Who? Mike Johnson. played role assisting Trump's efforts to overturn 2020 elections? Oh, he's the fourth nominee. Okay, so he may not be. What's covenant marriage? Marriage entered into by one male and one female who understand and agree that the marriage between them is a lifelong relationship. Parties to a covenant marriage have received counseling emphasizing the nature and purpose of marriage and the responsibilities thereof. Only when there has been a complete and total breach of the marital covenant commitment may the non-breaching party seek a declaration that the marriage is no longer legally recognized. What the fuck is that? This feels like one of those things that people do to jerk off over how religious they are. Is that what it is? It's like it has no purpose apart from them being like, you're so religious. Too busy to support the genocide of Palestinians anyways. No, it's not. Trust me. Wait, he actually got elected. All the narcissists would have been out there becoming dictators. You can bet Stalin would have been a kick streamer if he was alive. I actually agree with that. I actually agree with that. He did win 2 minutes ago. Fuck. My own parents are divorced. As anyone who goes through that knows, that was a traumatic thing for our whole family. I'm a big proponent of marriage and fidelity and all the things that go with it, and I've seen firsthand the devastation divorce can... Man, how are you... This is the type of a thing you would expect to read about, you know, some sort of a shit-ass little country. These types of sentences, like if you gave me an interview with some politician from, I don't know, Serbia, and they said this, and I would have been like, yeah, okay, they're fucking backwards. Of course, they're saying stupid shit like that. USA? Come on, this? Sometimes their little culture war thing gets so fucking primitive that it's, I don't know, it feels insulting to even read. Imagine having that potential. Strongest fucking nation we got around. And then you use it for this bullshit to have politicians saying this dumbassery. Fucking sad. The inside the world? They're quite good at it. Yeah, that's true. They managed to export it into Europe. They are quite good at it. It sucks that they're so good at it.
Cruise missiles, the centerpiece of Russia's campaign of intimidation in Ukraine, terrorizing civilians far from the front lines. The Kremlin leadership champions its missile program as an example of Russia's technological advancement. But an insider investigation has found that one of its most important plants, despite Western sanctions, operates with outside help.
What even is a house speaker, by the way? What's the point of a house speaker?
Meet the Iskander, one of the most frequently used ground-launched cruise missiles in Russia's arsenal. It can hit cities in Ukraine from a distance of 300 miles,
a decent country not falling apart, you need
out of range
Republicans?
of retaliatory strikes. But it doesn't come cheap. costing
I mean,
the
how
Russian
do you
military
even define
around $3
Republicans
million
in that
a pop.
sense? What do you think Republicans are?
This summer, 7 people were killed and more than 150 injured
No.
when Russia fired an Iskander into central Chernihiv in northern Ukraine. The terrifying moment of impact was caught on video by a bystander.
Yeah, why would you need conservatives to have a decent country not falling apart?
This is the Kinzhal.
He just keeps things
essentially
moving
an
along, so he
airlines version
could
of the same missile.
keep things
But
he
this
likes
one's
moving
trumpeted
along,
as
which seem to be
hypersonic and
things
costs
that an
even
imbecile
more
would
to
like.
make, close to 10 million.
Like how much could he be pushing the culture war bullshit around? How much could he be affecting aid? Can he affect? I mean, I guess if he can keep things moving, I guess he can
MKB Design Bureau, just outside
push things to
Moscow.
the side.
It's owned by
I guess he
Rostec,
can
a
choose
sprawling
which
weapons
things to focus on.
conglomerate that's been subject to US and EU sanctions since 2014. Insider investigative journalist
Oh, he
Sergei
can't control it a
Yezhov
lot.
has uncovered a network
Okay.
of Western technology
Okay,
firms
okay,
and
okay.
Russian intermediary companies that have helped MKB secure the machine tools and electronics it's needed
Nation
to
where
ramp
a
up
lot
its
of people
production
have problems
of
that cannot be
missiles
solved by
for the war in
retracting modern
Ukraine.
policy.
And so far,
Hence why
the
conservatives are not
authorities in the
popular
US
right
and
now.
the
I see
EU
that.
have done
I see that. I
nothing
see that.
to impose
Like there's
sanctions against
in
them.
some situations you
Take
could say
these
there's used to
Japanese
having
SPEC
conservatives,
testing chambers
but
seen
you
in
have to know
MKB
where exactly
promotional
their
video.
conservative
They're
mindset
used
could
to
be
expose
utilized
missile
and
components to extreme temperatures,
or realistically.
and were shipped by a company in Poland called Intertrans. A
like
month after the
realistically,
full-scale
where
invasion
is
commenced
it
last
useful?
year.
Where is it helpful?
Customs
Nowhere.
records show Sandvik drills were imported straight from Berlin in January of this year. Machine tools used to manufacture parts on site come from Germany's KEB, and multiple
KEB.
American Haas machine tools are also visible on KBM's factory floor in its own promotional videos. The Kinzhal's targeting system is made by another Rostec-owned company that got the microchips it needs from a German firm called Advantech GmbH as recently as March of last year. The Kinzhal supply chain truly spans the whole of the Western Alliance. One major Rostec supplier is ETS Electronics. It sourced microchips from well-known American firms like Texas Instruments and Analog Devices,
Texas,
both used in the Iskander,
of course,
through a Chinese intermediary called ETS Electronics Ltd. Earlier this year.
Freedom Caucus. Can you elaborate? who are parts of it, and why would it matter?
ETS doesn't try very hard to mask its links to Rostec. It was created by a low-level employee of the defense conglomerate named Yekaterina Kulakovskaya, seen here, explaining how the company gets around sanctions. ETS has so far avoided
We're watching
being
Russians
added to
using
EU sanctions, despite its
Western
appearance
equipment
at
to
Russia's
kill
Army
Ukrainians.
2022 conference. It was also awarded a certificate by the Russian
That's what we're
defense
watching.
minister himself.
Our sanctions not being enough because of course they're not
Ukrainian
enough.
Investigators
Because they're mostly
routinely
pussies.
collect down missiles to identify the components the weapons are made with. In the Kinzhal alone,
To be fair,
they've
like all of this
identified
information, I
48
remember seeing
foreign
threads on this
components, many of them
months
made
ago.
by companies from countries that have imposed sanctions on Russia.
All of this
including
information was
the
known.
United States,
We just
Germany,
did nothing.
Switzerland, Japan, and the Netherlands. Meanwhile, Russia's president has championed the Kinzhal as a super weapon.
Republicans are made of
immune to
traditional
Western air
Republicans and
defense
Freedom
systems
Caucus
because of its
Republicans.
supposed hypersonic
When you read anything about
capabilities.
culture war bullshit, it's typically the Freedom Caucus or one of the whips. Oh. No, culture war is a populism thing. Culture war is how you get to dump people to go vote.
Ukrainian officials believe its capabilities are
Any
somewhat
technology
exaggerated.
can be used for good and evil, true. But we should recognize when it's being used for evil, and we should sanction the shit out of that, and we have chosen not to.
So this one was shot down by a
Putin.
Patriot missile.
I can't even do it. Thank you, Putin, thank you. And ironic, because like I'm probably gonna be giving lots of your money to Shtenenko, Putin. I'm sorry for
Russia has
that.
repeatedly claimed that its targets
By the way,
are only
Shtenenko
our
posting
military.
really good stuff on
In
Twitter
March,
recently.
the Russian media reported on one such
Look,
strike.
I was feeling really
claiming
bad
Kinzhal
today. I saw
had
some
destroyed
analysis
a
of the
NATO
situation.
base in Ukraine,
Felt
even
horrible.
though
It's
there
not
aren't
like a
any NATO
dire
bases in Ukraine.
situation, but if we sent more aid, way more Ukrainian lives would have been saved, and it's fucking heartbreaking to watch this. So to be honest, I saw Shtenenko post about how many drones
Then, on October
his
5th,
donations
Russia
are buying.
conducted a very real strike on the village
Gave
of
me a little bit of
Groza
hope.
in the
Go
Kharkiv
donate to
region.
that man. It's worth it.
It was the single largest loss of life since the start of the war, killing 59 people at a memorial service, including a 6-year-old. Russia's UN ambassador justified the strike by claiming it was a funeral for a, quote,
Trillion, I wish,
high-ranking
my dude.
Ukrainian nationalist.
Sexual define sexualized ideas. Because teaching some form of sexual education to children is absolutely alright and is absolutely important. We were having like conversations on it last week on stream. Actually, I was doing research on this and people here were distracting me.
In order to send a clear message
But
about the
teaching
severity
kids
of the
about their own body
consequences
parts, for
of its
example,
actions. But Russia's
is
only
very
increased
important.
attacks against civilians using Western
Teaching kids
technology.
about
Clearly, sanctions
the names of
aren't
their
doing
body
what they're
parts,
supposed to.
and teaching them very basics about, of course you're not going to teach them about sex and everything when they're really,
So
really
maybe
young,
it's time
but just making
Western
sure that they
governments
have age
change
appropriate
their
education
approach
is very,
and put
very important.
penalizing Western companies at the center of their strategy in order to send industry a message that they're finally serious about sanctions enforcement.
Biology is evil, true. True. No one's teaching kids that gender is non-existent, my dude. No one's teaching like kids that gender is non-existent. It's one of those things that you people tell to yourself so you would have an excuse to vote for absolute horrible politicians. Most of that shit is happening in private schools where the government has less control. Yeah, that too. I mean, if you want to be against private schools, that's okay. I could be GG with that. Could be GG with that. By law, you have a source on that. You have a law? I would love to read the law, actually. That might be very, very interesting. In America, they are. Why are you suddenly changing the conversation to worldwide from America? What is the worldwide? They received even more worldwide. Ukraine? You are aware that some of the equipment we have sent to them is so old it's literally failing on the battlefield, right? You are aware that we're mostly giving them scraps from our garages. A huge chunk of what we are giving to them is just stuff that we don't want to hold on to anymore because it's collecting dust and we want to get fresh stuff. When it comes to Croatia, giving them helicopters, as much as I support Croatia giving everything it can, we gave them all of our helicopters. A big part of a reason why we did that is so we could buy different helicopters, so we could buy new ones. Most of stuff that has been given to Ukraine has been old shit that we have given. And then if you combat that with the fact that we are not allowing them to strike into Russian territory at all. Hey, thank you for sending the video. I scrolled up in chat because I remember you also said it's about Soviet alcoholism. So I scrolled up in chat to try and find the link and I lost it. Now, sir, your next message is going to be the Californian law saying that it's mandatory to teach kids that gender isn't real. That's going to be your next message in chat. And if it's not the next message in chat, you're gonna get some strikes and you're gonna get a timeout. Okay? War between two countries. One country is not allowed to strike back. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Yeah, the ATACMS are... Yeah, it's fucking old. Fucking old. We're destroying most of Russian military with old equipment. It speaks to the power of Ukrainian military incredibly. From sanctions to gender, that's what happens when you get one of those USA brain people in chat. It's what happens. They're really into culture war for some reason. It's like speaking to fucking children.
Денатурат, брага, синька, політура, тормозуха, дивні назви і страхітливий міст, що призводив до сліпоти та смерті. Як...
These translations were interesting. By the way, I have to run for a second. I drank a lot of water. I have to go to the... So I'll be back really quickly, okay? Watch the video, be nice.
Через алкоголізм радянської людини український Крим та Закарпаття втратили свої найкращі виноградники, а головний селекціонер півострова покінчив життя самогубством. Чому генсека Міхаїла Горбачова називали не інакше, ніж «лимонадний Джо»?
Не утруждайтесь, я не п'ю нічого спиртного.
Та до чого призвела його антиалкогольна кампанія? Друзі, вітаю! З вами канал «Зе Документаліст». І сьогодні маємо надзвичайно цікаву тему – взаємовідносини алкоголю та гомосовєтікус, або як спивалися у Радянському Союзі. Ви дізнаєтеся, чому за рівнем споживання спиртного СРСР був попереду усієї планети, як це впливало не лише на маленьке людське життя, але й економіку та навіть культуру в цілому. Чим взагалі було викликано п'янство – протестом, безнадією чи хитрим кроком з боку держави? Адже погодьтеся, що п'яною і залежною людиною завжди керувати легше. Мабуть, це пояснює той факт, що які б катаклізми не сталися уже у сучасній путінській Росії, але там завжди буде дешеве пійло.
Для тебе, Володька, я з тобою. Ми з тобою.
Це історія про алкоголь та історію алкоголізму. Буде цікаво, тож поїхали. СРСР 1985 рік. До влади приходить порівняно молодий 54-річний генсек Міхаїл Горбачов. За його правління ЦК Компартії та Рада міністрів Радянського Союзу ухвалює постанову про заходи щодо подолання пияцтва і алкоголізму, викоренення самогоноваріння. Фактично вона запроваджує черговий сухий закон. В СРСР їх було кілька, але саме останній запам'ятався як найбільш жорсткий.
So next stream you will have 0, no matter how many you have collected this stream.
Виробництва спиртного, лікеро-горілчані заводи та пивоварні змушені перейти на випуск.
Wait, I have to see that comment. The moment you made a point about something practical and quantifiable, you said something wrong. So now you're pivoting away to culture war bullshit because it's hard to measure. Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I was just thinking about this though. I was just thinking about this. I was taking a piss. I was just thinking about this. The whole thing with gender not being real. You think he's talking about... Do you think there's like a part in the curriculum which is like, hey, we're teaching kids about the fact that gender is not the same thing as sex? So like gender is cultural and sex is biological. You think that's what he's talking about? Like do they tell to kids that the expectations of gender norms differentiate between different cultures, and he's like, oh, this is saying gender isn't real? Is that what it is? Because I would guess that's what it is. I don't really know what Californian law he's talking about, but it seems to be the most likely explanation for this. I don't know if I feel like looking it up, to be honest. It's like, it's a culture war thing. It's a culture war thing. Mandatory holiday in school? I mean, you don't really have mandatory holidays in school. No holidays are mandatory holidays in that sort of a way. Kids who want to participate can, but like it's... So it's not like they're making you be trans or whatever. It may be just learning more. It may just be learning more about a topic for a month. That's like okay. All children are forced into gender conversion camps. Ooh. No house speaker is the real way to cut aid to Ukraine. Oh yeah, that's what one of the USA people was talking previously, right? When he had that speech about how aid to Ukraine is running out. Because they don't have a new house speaker, so they need to choose a new house speaker so they could give more aid to Ukraine. What? For now, Chinese influence is manageable. Japanese have patiently dealt with near-daily aggression and pressure from Chinese naval, coast guard, maritime militia and fishing vessels, as well as regular aerial intrusions into Japanese territory. Things have not blown up, but it's best not to assume the state of affairs will continue in the same mode for another 15 years, or 15 months, or 15 days. Don't bash the Americans for not knowing how their two-house republic works. Man, I'm not even trying to figure out how it works. I want you to get information on how this new person being chosen is going to affect Ukraine. I'm not even trying to understand how the system in USA works. It's very, very confusing. I kind of do, you know. I kind of want to Google fucking California. It's nothing. California law requires students learn and be provided instructional materials that explain the role and contributions of, among others, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Americans. How this is accomplished is left to local school systems and teachers. The state-approved social science framework notes that teachers should use age-appropriate materials to discuss and teach about the diversity of humankind. Like, nothing here is dramatic. Nothing here is worth the bitching. I don't know. Fucking USA, my dude. Fucking USA. I got world superpower. Ever think about how sad that is?
Влада закриває багато магазинів, ресторанів, кафе і навіть
And it's
їдалень, де
crumbling
продавали
right in front of us.
спиртне. Тільки в Українській Радянській Соціалістичній Республіці мережу таких крамниць скоротили приблизно на
Johnson is an ally of former President Donald
45%. Ціну
Trump,
ж на
opposed
горілку
certifying
підняли з
220
4
election.
карбованців 70
He's anti-abortion,
копійок
voted
до
against
9
Ukraine aid, and
карбованців
supports
10
LGBT
копійок.
restrictions. So a very
Незважаючи
problematic
на
man.
суттєве
I just
підняття
wish
вартості, придбати горілку, як раніше, уже неможливо.
he didn't
Її
have
відпускають в нечисленних
any power.
спеціалізованих точках
And so
із
far it seems
еталонами.
promising
Більше
because
того,
I'm choosing
тільки
to
в певні
trust
години,
Draco on this,
з 14
because
до
Draco
19
sounds like he
або
knows
з
a lot.
14 до 16 години. Не дивно, що біля них одразу з'являються черги, інколи кілометрові. У таких чергах стояли хіба що до мертвого Леніна. Це породжує численні приказки та анекдоти. В 6 утра поет петух, в 8 Пугачева. Магазин закрыт до 2, ключ у Горбачева. На недельку до 2 закопаем Горбачева, откопаем Брежнева, будем пить по-прежнему. Народ злився, проклинав Горбачова, стояв у довжелезних чергах, калічився там і складав анекдоти, які брав, по суті, з життя. Отже, доба Горбачова, помирає чоловік похилого віку. Рідня запитує у нього останнє бажання, той, облизуючи пересохлі губи, шепоче: «Горілочки б!» Дають тільки за довідкою про смерть. Щасливі падли, заздрістю каже старий і помирає. Кампанія супроводжувалася інтенсивною пропагандою під гаслом «Твере».
Wait. Tens of thousands of drones, mortars, artillery. Russia is trying to advance in multiple areas, and Ukraine might suffer thanks to it. Already is. It already is. It's so fucking heartbreaking. But we could have avoided so many casualties if we just gave Ukraine more aid. We could have avoided so many casualties. Yeah, the titles seem uniquely shit on this video. I was thinking of maybe like switching it to maybe Ukrainian and then going to English translation. I'm not sure why they're so bad on this one. Because usually when it says like English properly, usually they're okay with English. But now they're more chaotic than they tend to be, and I'm not sure why. Oh. Oh, I guess English is just the same thing as when you go to translate. Did they just copy paste it? Because it's the same thing. Like I'm getting it because I'm also listening, so I'm understanding it, but y'all.
Та неприпустимість споживання алкоголю. А ще заявляв, що пияцтво не властиво російському народу. І всі одразу повірили, особливо росіяни. Наскільки пияцтво не властиве російському народу, ми обов'язково розповімо вам трішки далі. Отже, Горбачов і соратники ніби з ланцюга зірвалися. По всій країні організовують товариства тверезості та здорового способу життя. Активно пропагують безалкогольні засілля
English.
На вулиці перехожим під шафе могли легко впаяти штраф до 100 карбованців, фактично на всю зарплату, або заарештувати на 15 діб. За пияцтво на виробництві звільняли з роботи або виключали з партії. Перед тим нещасного піддавали нещадній критиці на загальних зборах, викликали жінок, друзів чи сусідів. І так виглядали уроки моралі по-совєтськи.
Сколько раз вас направляли в цехи лечиться? Вы ведь бросили, не стали лечиться. Вы же специалист высокой квалификации, газорезчиком, и продолжаете пить.
Жить-то надо так, правда?
Жить надо по-умному. Прежде всего, надо бросать пить. Пожалуйста, давайте обратимся, слово дадим жене.
Он пьет систематически. Вот сколько лет я с ним живу, и столько он пьет. Он на работу не выходит, и мастер придет. Где он? Я говорю, он в магазин ушел пить.
Zapier. Al Jazeera development? Wait, what development do you mean? What happened? If it was recent, I guess no. Ukraine should get some nukes from somewhere. I'm not entirely convinced that if Ukraine managed to get nukes, that the West wouldn't abandon it in a second. I feel like the West is already pussy ass on this whole thing. I feel if Ukraine actually were to procure nukes from somewhere, I feel our leaders would shit themselves on the spot. They would go cry to Putin immediately.
Слід вважати абсолютно неприпустимим уживання спиртних напоїв на роботі, у громадських місцях, розцінювати такі випадки як аморальну антисоціальну поведінку, використовуючи проти п'яниць усю силу закону і громадської думки, писала на той час газета «Правда». І тоді посилили контроль за лікуванням хворих на алкоголізм. Тих, хто ухилявся від добровільного перебування у медзакладах, направляли на примусове.
No, not that I don't think Russia will go bankrupt. I don't think Russia will go bankrupt in a way that matters. Because Putin is just going to, continue getting money from his oligarch friends. He's going to be continuing getting aid from other shithole countries that he has around that are supporting him. He's going to be able to give a normal existence to his circle of power, and the rest of Russia is going to be, in a shit condition the same way they are now. I don't really think Russia can go bankrupt in a way that matters. I don't think they can lose as much money for their people to start a revolt. I believe if they were hungry and thirsty and cold and practically naked, if they had to eat leaves of the trees and dirt of the road, I still believe they would not do anything to kick Putin out of power. Getting nukes when you don't have any implies a desire to use it. Okay. Yeah, if we didn't make Ukraine give up their nukes, the situation would definitely be a lot different. Absolutely. USA can fund the war indefinitely. Russia maybe has 5 years. 5 years to what though? Because I don't really think that in 5 years, even again if Russia goes bankrupt, I don't think it's gonna go bankrupt in a way that matters. They will still have enough people in republics to sacrifice. They will still be getting enough stuff from their allies to be able to make some sort of equipment. It's not like they care about not losing their men. Russia will be able. Russia will be alright. Asian part of Russia abandoning the western side would take away a lot of cannon fodder. Oh yeah, USA can fund the war. I don't think USA is putting in enough effort to end it as soon as possible. I don't think anyone is. I don't think we are. I think we're also failing when it comes to that. Hey. Spaghetti is going to Avdiivka. Spaghetti is going to Avdiivka. Ukraine needs to fight with tech and metal. Yeah, Ukraine already does have better equipment. There's a big difference in like how Ukrainian tanks, Western tanks given to Ukraine, are able to save the lives of the crew much more efficiently than Russian tanks are. So, you know, lots more lives are being saved. So Ukraine could technically be, you know, using a lot more, as you say, tech and metal to fight more efficiently, because it is true they don't have as huge of a pool of men to mobilize as Russia does. Absolutely true. I think the quality of mobilization also matters, though. I think the quality of mobilization also matters. I'm not sure how many Ukraine mobilizes. I know they have sent few new groups on the front line 2 days ago. I don't know. I remember seeing people post about it. So I guess they're doing appropriately well. I don't know, man. I wish we were just proper with aid and this could be solved almost immediately and no lives would have been lost.
Вашему участковому наркологу, и если вы не будете лечиться, мы будем применять меры принудительного характера.
У своєму пориві ініціатори сухого закону йдуть далі і запроваджують цензуру. З фільмів вирізають цілі сцени з алкоголем, а деякі кінострічки взагалі прибирають з ефіру. Скажімо, у 1985 році на екрани виходить фільм «Начні спочатку», де одну з ролей виконує Андрій Макаревич.
The whole thing with Russians surrendering too, the whole thing with them waking up and rebelling against Putin too. The situation is very, very dire. Ukrainians themselves are talking about how serious the situation is. I don't really think it's, you know, realistic nor helpful to pretend like it's better than what
Це
it
не
is.
єдине кіно, де вирізали алкогольну тематику. Таких стрічок було багато. Зокрема, і знаменитий сталкер Андрія Тарковського. Натомість, саме за Горбачова після 20-річної перерви до показу повернули старий фільм «Лимонадний Джо», де головний герой п'є безалкогольні напої і воює з п'яничками. Це дало прізвисько Горбачову. Його почали кликати не інакше, як «Лимонадний Джо» або «Мінеральний секретар». Можливо, усе це виглядало смішно та весело, але насправді антиалкогольна кампанія, розв'язана Генсеком, подекуди мала жахливі наслідки. Це як у приказці «Скажи дурневі бити поклони, а він лоба розіб'є». Друзі, ми продовжимо, але зараз наш традиційний заклик. Якщо вам подобаються наші випуски, залиште вподобайку чи коментар. Підпишіться на канал, якщо досі не зробили цього.
They are already, like when you look at the men they're mobilizing, they're already mobilizing who? Buryats? Tuvans? Chechens? Dagestanis? You think any of those people lived in better conditions? Russia going bankrupt would not change a goddamn single thing. If China doesn't go bankrupt, they'll pour money in Russia too. That's too, definitely. We have absolutely fucking failed by not reacting properly in 2014, not reacting properly in 2022. And at this point, we have a situation where, like, there's a whole axis forming between Russia and then China and then Iran, and you know, just kind of watching it grow and doing nothing, and it's only gonna get worse. Yeah, demobilize Ukrainians from occupied areas too. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It will just they are, oh no. Oh, Draco, no. If your hope in any way relies on Russians doing anything, your hope is misplaced. Your hope is misplaced. They will never protest. They will continue being useless the way they are useless now. They will never protest. I mean, the thing with Africa becoming more and more Russian, absolutely, and it's only gonna get worse. It's only gonna get fucking worse because now they control the exports from Ukraine. It would have gotten worse if Ukraine lost. It's horrible now. The only situation in which we could have possibly kept Africa from going to the side of Russia is, you know, if we helped Ukraine as soon as we could have. And we didn't. We failed in it. Just ridiculous. Russians will more likely protest for not being paid correct money than Ukraine. Yeah, no, absolutely. They won't do shit. And even when they protest, they don't do shit when they protest. Even when they protest, they do it as letting off steam at best. They will not do shit. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna go out on the streets. They're gonna draw some transparents. They're gonna be like, Putin, give us your money that you promised. Gonna be walking there for 2 hours, gonna get bored, go home. That's it. And then they're gonna use that little experience of walking on the street for 2 hours with little posters. They're gonna use that for next 3 to 4 years to go online and be like, guys, you hate all Russians? Well, actually, I was in protest against Putin. I'm actually one of the good ones. So many Russians are some of the good ones, okay? As a nation, we are absolutely okay. No, any hope you got in Russians doing anything useful, remove it. Get rid of it. Do you think it's better to die in Ukraine than to live in Russia? Oh, holy shit. Well, that's sad. That's sad. Moscovites will protest if they can't afford food. It's very unlikely Moscows are going to feel any effect from all of this, even if Russia goes bankrupt. Very unlikely they're going to feel anything. To a certain point, Russia is, I wouldn't really say self-sufficient in a proper way, as to, you know, it couldn't keep itself going up to a certain standard, absolutely not. But by using their republics even more, I believe they can keep the illusion of normalcy for Moscow for years. Yeah, they're going to be okay. They got resources for that shit. They have tourists going there. They're happy folk. Yeah, they didn't give a shit. They don't care about this. I'm going to be fine. Crimea, yeah. Like, they're already sending people to go to Crimea to buy cheap new apartments. Same in the areas of occupied Ukraine. They are already trying to import Russians in them. They're quite efficient when it comes to this. Don't underestimate Russian effectiveness in doing ethnic cleansing. It's very unlikely that this will going to fail in any reason connected to Russians getting politically active. Just, come on, let's be real on this.
Аудиторії має велике значення. Якщо маєте бажання підтримати команду, то можете зробити це через сервіс Buy Me a Coffee чи Монобанку. Навіть ваша невеличка кава додасть нам заряду та бадьорості. Також хочу подякувати людям, які вже зробили донат. Їх не так багато, але вони круті, бо поділилися з нами своєю енергією. І це справді важливо, бо дає нам можливість рухатися вперед. Також хочу попросити вас про можливість долучитися до дуже хорошої справи. Хлопці з 45-ї артилерійської бригади збирають кошти на комплекс БПЛА «Валькірія» та 2 безпілотні літаки для аеророзвідки. 45-та бригада крута, я підписаний на їхню сторінку і бачу, як вони смажать орків щодня. Маєте кілька вільних гривень, обов'язково закиньте. Усі реквізити подаємо в описі до відео. Але ми продовжуємо і зараз про справді жахливі наслідки антиалкогольної кампанії. Крім скорочення виробництва та підняття вартості горілки, Горбачов дає команду вирубувати виноградники. І влада робить це надзвичайно жорстко та брутально. Більше за всіх республік постраждала Україна та Молдова. Скажімо, у Криму було знищено від 30 до 40% виноградників, через що зникли унікальні колекційні сорти. Таких втрат не було навіть під час Другої світової війни. Лозу викорчовували, а поля засівали пшеницею чи кукурудзою. Люди, котрі пов'язали своє життя з виноробством, помирали від інфарктів та накладали на себе руки. Тут ми не можемо оминути історію одного з провідних учених-селекціонерів, директора Всесоюзного науково-дослідного інституту виноробства та виноградарства Магарач Павла Голодриги. Коли з Москви надійшла вказівка вирубувати виноградники, він, уродженець Вінниччини, ветеран-фронтовик, учений зі світовим ім'ям, усіляко протидіяв партійному наказу. Писав листи в ЦК, особисто їздив на державну дачу у Форосі, коли Горбачов відпочивав в Криму. Але протидіяти тупій машині соціалістичної системи не зміг. За саботаж і невиконання партійних доручень спершу втратив директорську посаду, а потім напрацювання кількох десятків своєї наукової роботи. А втрачати було що, оскільки Голодрига був автором 43 нових сортів винограду. Але найголовніше, 23 із них були з комплексною стійкістю до хвороб та шкідників. Його винні сорти були не тільки морозостійкими, але й без застосування хімікатів та отрут протистояли грибковим захворюванням і філоксері, що тоді косила виноградники на території усього Союзу. Після звільнення з керівної посади розпочалося справжнє цькування науковця. Проти нього проводили партійне і кримінальне розслідування. Його дітище, розплідники винограду в інституті Магарач, пішли під сокиру. Бачачи усе це, у грудні 1986 року Павло Голодрига наклав на себе руки. Похорон минув без особливих почестей. У пресі не опублікували навіть некролог. Ховали знамениту людину, а виглядало так, наче закопували злочинця, який тільки завдяки непорушному гуманізму керівництва зміг лягти в землю поряд з хорошими людьми, констатував друг селекціонера, письменник Юрій Черниченко. Далі радянська влада проявила типовий для себе гуманізм і викорчувала майже всю плантацію науковця – 45 тисяч сіянців. Сировину для них Голодрига збирав з усього світу. Але його смерть не була даремною, оскільки зупинила варварське вирубування виноградної лози. Саме тоді розпочиналася так звана епоха гласності, і про цю трагедію навперебій почала писати центральна преса, в тому числі всесоюзний і надзвичайно популярний журнал «Огоньок». Розголос про самогубство врятував виноробство та виноградарство від повного знищення чи занепаду. Отже, професор Голодрига поклав своє життя, щоб зупинити смерть українського винограду. Друзі, а зараз кілька слів про інших варварів, нацистів і те, як вони грабували бібліотеки та на усіх окупованих землях знищували рідкісні книги. Цим займалися спеціальні бригади, які в такий спосіб знищували культурну та національну ідентифікацію цілих народів. Якщо вам цікава така історія, то наш партнер, видавництво «Фабула», видало ось таку крутезну книгу «Книжкові злодії». Написана легко і цікаво. За промокодом «Документ10» і на неї, і на інші позиції діє знижка у 10%. Замовляйте, читайте, пізнавайте світ. Усе в описі до відео.
Wait, let me see this. He voted against Ukraine in 6 out of 7 House votes. He believes sending aid to Ukraine is a terrible mistake. The fuck is wrong with them? Johnson's stance is opposed by most Democrats and many moderate Republicans. They believe the United States has a moral obligation to help Ukraine defend itself against Russia's aggression, and that sending aid to Ukraine is in the best interest of the United States and its allies. I wish. most, if not all of the expenses should fall on Europe. USA was there for the Budapest Memorandum. What do you mean their backyard? You don't get to call it our backyard when you were directly involved in creating this. Just, goddamn ridiculous when a superpower, does superpower shit and then refuses to take accountability for making mistakes while doing the superpower shit. Like, come on, dude. Just give us enough weapons so we can kick out Russians immediately and then we can continue with this childish bullshit. What is this? Boost travel? No, not really.
А ми повертаємося до нашої теми і задаємо найголовніше запитання цього випуску. А чим, власне, була викликана така тотальна антиалкогольна кампанія? Та все просто надзвичайно високим рівнем споживання алкоголю серед населення. Фактично, радянська людина безбожно спивалася, пили як свині. Пік споживання алкоголю припав на епоху правління дорогого Леоніда Ілліча Брежнєва.
Здравствуйте, дорогі юні друзі.
Наприкінці 70-х, початку 80-х років споживання спиртних напоїв в СРСР досягло рекордного рівня в історії країни. На дорослого чоловіка припадало понад 50 пляшок горілки на рік. І це лише офіційна статистика. А якщо порахувати самогон, різноманітні наливки та вина, то виходить, що середньостатистичний громадянин за рік випивав близько 100 пляшок оковитої. Зростало жіноче та підліткове пияцтво. Близько 32% загальної кількості смертей на рік в СРСР прямо або опосередковано були пов'язані з алкоголем. Приблизно 2/3 злочинів скоювалися п'яними людьми. За рік до витверезників потрапляло близько 9 мільйонів осіб, а близько 1,5 мільйона проходили примусове лікування від алкоголізму.
В положении о медицинских вытрезвителях сказано, что они обязаны обеспечить своими силами и средствами изъятие пьяных с улиц и других общественных мест. И в случае необходимости оказать медицинскую помощь. Это только часть работы. И, может быть, не самое сложное.
У відповідь на тотальне споживання люди з найближчого оточення Брежнєва намагалися переконати генсека, що треба б щось зробити, на що той зазвичай філософськи відповідав: як пили, так і питимуть. І це правда, бо за всі роки радянської влади була не одна антиалкогольна кампанія. З пияцтвом боролися по-різному та вигадували, що найрізноманітніші способи, щоб вигнати зеленого змія із суспільства. Ми вам коротко розповімо, як це відбувалося. Отже, першу спробу боротьби з надмірним уживанням спиртного було зроблено ще за Петра І. За його правління на шию п'яницям вішали 6-кілограмову чавунну зірку із надписом «За пияцтво». У 1714 році таке покарання було запроваджено на території усієї Російської імперії. Точна вага медалі складала 6,8 кг. Ще близько 1,5 кг важив обруч, за допомогою якого у поліцейській дільниці медаль кріпили на шию нещасному, так, щоб її гострі кінці впиралися в груди та живіт. Носили таку своєрідну нагороду від тижня до року, доки людина не давала публічну церковну клятву відмовитися від оковитої. У 1914 році сухий закон увів останній цар Ніколай II. Під заборону потрапила не лише оковита, але й вино, самогон і навіть, здавалося, безневинне пиво. Причина рішення – Перша світова війна. Імперія вступила у бійню, і монарх розумів, що отримати перемогу п'янство точно не допоможе, оскільки позаду була провальна російсько-японська війна, де солдати до білої гарячки пили як в окопах на передовій. Але ви думаєте, це зупинило п'яниць? Абсолютно ні. Почалося тотальне самогоноваріння. Крім того, росіяни пили ханжу, розбавлений виноград та навіть одеколон. Доходило до того, що перукарі більше не могли тримати парфюм на столиках, як це було раніше, а закривали у шухлядках. Таку раптову пристрасть до засобів гігієни бізнесмени одразу використали на свій бік. Вже на другий рік сухого закону Воронізький одеколонний завод замість 7 переробив 81 тисячу відер спирту. Тож замість звичного перегару у містах і селах імперії стояли неперевершені аромати. Тотальна заборона на продаж спиртного призвела до різкого росту наркоманії. І якщо вам цікава ця тема, то можете подивитися блог, який є на нашому каналі. До речі, не треба копати аж так далеко у часи царя, бо винахідливість алкашів вражала і в пізніший період, радянський. От, що вони пили, коли не було оковитої? Інколи це були справді
what's the
страшні
difference
людини,
between
які
Lithuania
містили
vodka and every
навіть
other?
отруту.
Are all vodkas not the same?
Даже из горлышка. В этом
What's the
нет ничего,
difference?
кроме томления духа и суеты. Смешать водку с одеколоном, в этом есть известный каприз, но нет никакого пафоса. А вот что может быть благороднее, чем экспериментировать на себе, я делал так.
Це уривок з театральної постановки за легендарною книгою «Москва петушки». Чому вона легендарна? Бо це справді ніби поема російського алкоголізму. У ній головний герой їде в потязі, розмовляє з попутниками і безперервно п'є з ними усе, що містить спирт і хоч якось пролазить у шлунок. І головне, що це не стільки художня видумка, стільки правда, бо книга написана з життя
Homo-Sovietico
Отже, коли горілки з якихось причин не було, дефіцит, брак грошей чи черговий сухий закон, то радянські люди одразу включали смікалку. І самогоном варінням справа закінчувалася не завжди. Приміром, це могла бути брага. Що це таке? А це була переброджена слабоалкогольна рідина, назвемо її так, обов'язковими компонентами якої був цукор, дріжджі та вода. Усе банально, просто і невибагливо. Налягали, як я вже говорив раніше, на одеколон. І тут вибирати було з чого, адже в СРСР за ГОСТом виробляли близько 700 найменувань парфумерних виробів, у тому числі одеколони групи Екстра та А з вмістом етилового спирту не менше 70%. Групи Б, де спирту було 60%, та групи В з вмістом спирту на рівні 55%. До останнього належали такі доволі відомі у народі бренди, як Сирень, освіжаючий, Руйной. І от саме їх алкозалежність
there's fruity stuff that I love and there's fruity stuff that I hate. And I think a big difference is the alcohol amount, because I'm not really vibing with high alcohol amounts, I'm guessing. I've never really checked where the cutoff is. So when you give me numbers, 35%, 80%, in my brain it like amounts to nothing because I don't know what's the amount of alcohol and shit that I do drink.
У результаті певних маніпуляцій,
have to
не
actually
буду їх тут описувати, отримували навіть з небезпечного клея БФ, що був нічим
By the way,
іншим, ніж
do you people make cocktails? Kind of sad to be having this conversation while we're watching videos on why alcoholism is quite dangerous. But do you people make cocktails? Because I want to learn how to make cocktails. You know those really, really fancy ones with like 4 different beverages put in it?
Заливали в автомобіль. Щоб зменшити шкоду, її попередньо виморожували. Один із способів виморожування тормозухи називався «пустити по рейці». Узимку брали довгий шматок рейки, виставляли її на мороз, а коли вона ґрунтовно промерзала, то по її жолобу лили гальмівну рідину. Вважалося, що в такий спосіб усі погані домішки примерзають і залишаються на металі, а донизу дотікає уже більш-менш очищений спирт. Не хочу і не буду перелічувати усе, що вживали в часи дефіциту оковитої, бо романтики тут мало. Це дійсно отрути, які інколи нюхати неможливо, не те, щоб пити. Коли і під цю серію прийдуть адепти СРСР, а вони приходять під кожен наш випуск і будуть виписувати, що все це брехня, то ні, не брехня. Не брехня тому, що в окремі періоди совкової дійсності був дефіцит на алкоголь, а пити хотілося. І для декого ця алкогольна спрага була страшною. Її треба було загасити в будь-який спосіб. От і гасили. Проте, наскільки гострим був дефіцит, добре показує ось це відео. Це вже 91-й рік і найвідоміша пивна в центрі Москви. Бачите, з чого
I'm mostly asking because I saw some really, really cool.
Правильно, з банок.
I opened TikTok yesterday and one of the recommendations was some really, really cool cocktails to make and they look so good.
Усіх республік.
Чем вы в жизни занимались?
And also I watched Pirates of the Caribbean recently, so I'm kinda in the mindset to try some rum and I really want to be making some rum cocktails.
А в Москву по каким делам?
Сюда приехал, пивка попить.
Так просто пивка попить, а в деревне нет пива?
Нет.
До речі, одну із московських
Babe.
пивних
That's
саме
why I go to the city.
91-го року неймовірно
Just
колоритно
shit beer in
описав
the village.
український письменник Юрій Андрухович у своєму романі
Московіада.
«Московіада». Не пошкодуйте часу, прочитайте цей роман. Я вам щиро рекомендую
Hey, I
зробити
tried
це.
gin for the first time. Like month and a half ago. Tried gin for the first time. Never tried it before. Tastes quite interesting, to be honest. I didn't expect it to taste like that. In my head it was like vodka. Same shit as vodka. En route to alcoholism? No, I'm GG. I was en route to alcoholism. Mentally, I want to say 2 months ago. From when I started working to about 2 months ago. Like several times I was ending my shift. And I remember being like, you know what would be cool now? To just like take a beer can and to drink it at home. Like I could really use a beer now. And I caught myself thinking that, and then I was like, no. But like now I'm okay. I think I'm back to like a proper mindset on it. I'm back to Gigi. Funny drunk as shit story. I mostly have like my best stories I have are tipsy stories. Most fun I've had was when I was like 2 beers in and you're still aware of everything that's going on, you're just a little bit more loose. Those are the best types of evenings. I think that's the best thing, which is why I think cocktails are great, because you can make them to be relatively soft. Like first time I tried drinking cocktails, I had a friend, I mean I have a friend, he's alive, who knows how to make cocktails. He was going to actual classes on how to make cocktails because he wanted to be a bartender at the seaside. And he was, they were cheap. They were cheap but weak, if that makes sense to say. I think it was the only time I've actually like drank a bunch of cocktails at once. Felt basically nothing. It was mostly, I think the way he made them was like it was mostly juices and whatever the fuck, and then a little bit of it was alcohol, so you feel a stench of it, but that's it. Hey yo, can you please be chatting in English? Thank you. Put it on bread, put on winter heater, waited while it dried, created poison in bread. He took it, removed dry shit, he ate bread, became drunk. Oh shit, I have stories. I actually have a book. Let me show you my book. Give me a second, by the way. Give me. Dude, embrace the beer. I just figured out he's talking about people. Got this book. It's the 4th science summit of Slavonia and Baranja, which is the part of Croatia that I live in, right? The book is from 1984, and one part of the book, I don't know where it is. I'm gonna find it one day. I'm gonna pull out the numbers. One part of the book talks about how many people were, how this part of Croatia specifically was said to be really mentally fucked up because we were doing lots of suicides. And we were doing lots of suicides with people drinking acid. And basically what they have learned is that it wasn't really people like taking acid to suicide. It was people taking acid to try and get the feeling of being drunk. But you know, they would take the wrong type and then they would kill themselves. Very often also it would happen apparently when the wife was cleaning the house and she moved the alcohol somewhere, so the husband didn't know where the alcohol was, so he just took a sip from whichever bottle he found first, and it was acid used for cleaning. But very often they were also like trying to use some cleaning products to drink to, you know, kind of get drunk, but not really. But they would accidentally take acid and just die. Women were using it intentionally to kill themselves though, but men were just kind of trying to get drunk. Is this vodka? Asked Margarita weakly. The cat jumped resentfully in his chair. Forgive me, my lady. Would I ever allow myself to pour vodka for a lady? This is pure alcohol. Holy shit. Like 100%. What is that? What is that? What is that drink that is either 100% alcohol or almost 100% alcohol? Because my brother used to be drinking that and it was disgusting. Beers with me and I am one with me. A union made in heaven. Ethanol kills best germs in 70% strength. Oh, Wait, which is the one? Fuck, I'm bad on this, okay? I'm bad on this. It's kinda late, I have to go to sleep. So don't hate me for my chemistry lack of knowledge. Which one makes you go fucking blind? Because I know something makes you go fucking blind. Fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Ще запитання номер 2. Ми ж мусимо зробити якийсь висновок з цієї усієї інформації. А чому ж пили радянські люди? І тут не все так однозначно, бо виявляється, однієї відповіді немає, і це очікувано. Насамперед, на думку дослідників, причина пияцтва гомосовєтікус полягала у державній системі того часу. Якщо просто, то пересічний радянський громадянин випивав від нудьги, бо більше не було чого робити. Свою справу не відкриєш, за кордон не поїдеш, більше, ніж давала заробити система, рублів не заробиш. Зате можна щодня випивати з друзями, а на вихідні їздити на дачу і там також випивати. З іншого боку, саме алкоголь допомагав владі фундаментально контролювати мешканців країни, а простим людям давав хоробрість і свободу. Це було ніби визволення від реальності, в якій тобі важко і неприємно перебувати. Усе як у російській народній пісні.
It was methanol. If you accidentally get methanol poisoning, you need to take a shot of some strong drink. You drink a shot of rakia.
До речі, усі сухі закони і у царській Росії, і пізніше в СРСР були провальними, бо оцю генетичну тягу людини до оповитої не могла зупинити жодна влада. Свого часу тебе навчали, що Римська імперія загинула під ударами рабів і колонів. Ця імперія загине під ударами пияків. Колись вони усі вийдуть на Красну площу і вимагаючи пива рушать на Кремль. По них стрілятимуть, але кулі відбиватимуться від їхніх проспиртованих непробивних грудей. Вони зметуть усе. Тому імперії було вчасно подбати про своїх пияків. Не воювати з вітряками лібералізму чи націоналізму, не полювати на відьму релігійності чи на примару правозахисництва,
I remember you needed, like if you get methanol poisoning, go find rakia and just drink a chug of it.
Щоб вони любили своїх потворних жінок, щоб вони створювали собі подібних дітей. І все.
Самое главное пиво. Оставьте хоть народу пиво.
Але імперія зрадила своїх пияків і прирекла себе на розпад. Це були рядки з Московіади, де автор описав причину розвалу Радянської імперії. Сухий закон Горбачова не прожив і 2 років. Пізніше Лимонадний Джо визнав, що його рішення було помилковим. З вами був канал The Documentalist. Бережіть себе. Зустрінемось.
That was cool though. That was cool. I have to say this. I have to look into this man. That was good. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? That good fucking video. Very, very, very good fucking video. Here it is. My sister in Russia, they killed lots of Russians and some survived because they also drank proper alcohol. The alcoholics have managed. Alcohol dehydrogenase. I don't even know what is it in Croatian. Have to consume as much ethanol as possible. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I remember I talked to one of my friends recently about how in the city nearby we had an old woman who was making rakia at home in her bathtub. And we did have, I know of at least one person who was buying alcohol from her who got liver poisoning and died very, very soon. But there were also stories of other homeless people who were buying alcohol from her going blind from the alcohol. And the friend in question was like, oh, it's impossible that they got blind of drinking whatever she was making. Because like the idea is she was putting methanol in the bathtub because, she was able to obtain it. So then they went blind because of it. But then if they were actually drinking rakia, they would also be consuming ethanol, which would like directly counter the effects of it. And at the time I wanted to Google, like, do you even have to put any ethanol in it? Can't you just like put a shitload of methanol and that's it? Would you have to put any ethanol in it? How do you even make bathtub rakia? Is there a recipe that people use for that? What do they do? And I never Googled it. You just reminded me I've never Googled it. I'll have to figure that out. Shit in your liver. Ah, shit in your liver. That makes a lot of sense. Hey, by the way, guys, I have to be leaving soonish. Also, I don't know if I have posted to Discord, because I haven't posted this week's schedule, and there wasn't really a smart choice. But tomorrow we are likely doing a break day, because I have to be driving. So tomorrow we're doing a break day, but we are doing a normal stream on Friday. And also, I have to fucking show you all of my alcohol sources. I think we're just going to keep on talking about alcohols forever and ever and ever and ever. But yeah, glad we got at least some of the story out. I have to show you my researches. I found that great research. I think I showed it yesterday, but we didn't go too deeply into it. But this one, which shows that if you use regulating intestinal flora, basically they took the fuck this is isolated from baby feces, gave it to a mice that they hooked up on alcohol, and his liver got a bit better. It could actually maybe be a treatment used in humans. Come on. You can get it from burning wood even. So I guess it was easier for grandmas who wanted to make a lot of fake rakia in a bathtub to get methanol. Could they, like, if you make bathtub rakia, does it have to have any amount of ethanol in it, or can you just use methanol? Is what I'm interested in. Because the idea that my friend had was that it must have some ethanol in it too, so then it would cancel out the methanol that you are ingesting, right? But like, does it have to have it, or could you just be having methanol, so then there's nothing to cancel out? Alcohol stream, yeah. We gotta do a stream to remind you people that some of you are kind of close on the road to being alcoholics. I hope you're standing strong. I hope you're dealing well with everything. Hope you're doing good. By the way, I have to leave. Holy shit, it's like 9 in the evening. I have to go. I have to take a shower and I have to go to sleep. I have to run. So yeah, next stream Friday. Next week we should be doing streams normally. The only questionable day for me is Wednesday, because Wednesday is a holiday in Croatia. It's All Saints Eve, some religious type of a thing. And we're actually having a village fair nearby that I may be going to, but also maybe not. So we'll see how Wednesday goes. We'll see. Discard first fraction of moonshine. Oh! First milliliters of moonshine is kinda rich in methanol. I've never thought about that. Wait, my people actually make moonshine. I've never... I mean, rakia, technically, right? But I've never asked... I don't know how they do it. Now I'll ask. I'll be like, hey, when you guys make rakia, do you chunk out the first couple of milliliters? Do you just drink it? What do you do with that? I mean, to be fair, my people who drink the first few milliliters of moonshine are the same people who drink the rest of moonshine. So I guess they just even it out in the organism anyway. When do you usually get on stream? I try to start my streams around 5 in the evening. So it's supposed... The supposed schedule, I can actually show you my supposed schedule. The supposed schedule for this week is, where the fuck do I have it? Oh, I don't have it anywhere. I haven't saved it. Fucking loser. But the supposed schedule is starting at 5 in the evening and lasting until 8 in the evening. But we kind of leave it on a bit longer because I'm having fun. Discard first 10 to 15 milliliters or more if you do 50-liter loads. Oh, I think we don't. I don't know what's the legal amount of it to make. I know there's a legal amount. I've never cared about it too much, to be honest. It's not really a family business. I plan to continue, so I don't know too much about it. But I know there's a legal amount of moonshine you can make, and we make less than that amount. And I'm guessing it's less than 50 liters, to be honest. I don't think they would be GG with like one household making 50 liters. It seems to be a lot. They had also high amounts of lead in the beverages. Wait, do you have the study? Do you have the study available? Wait. Home distillation. Distillation in Eastern Europe. Do I have a Copilot? I do. Study conducted in Slovenia sheds light on practice of home distillation in the region. It discusses production of salamander brandy, type of home distilled alcohol popular in Slovenia. What is that? Nah, it's not that. Nah, they wouldn't do that. Slovenian, they wouldn't do that shit. Study highlights the cultural significance of this practice and the role in media in shaping public perception of home distilled alcohol. Another study discusses high level of cirrhosis in Central Eastern Europe. Suggests, the consumption of illegally produced homemade spirits containing varying amounts of aliphatic alcohols may be a contributing factor. Homemade spirits contain significantly higher concentrations of methanol, isobutanol, 1-propanol, 2-butanol, 2-butanol, isoamyl alcohol than commercial spirits. Consumption of homemade spirits is an additional risk factor for the development of alcohol-induced cirrhosis and may have contributed to the high level of liver cirrhosis mortality. Holy shit, I'm unable to read. I'm already like half asleep. In Central and Eastern Europe. Man. Oh my man, oh shit, we're gonna have to look at these researches more. Holy crap. Health risks, are they going to mention lead? I need to ask about lead specifically, I guess. I'm interested in that. Some of the key health risks include higher rates of alcohol consumption. Okay, yeah, easier to access it, right? Harmful substances, alcohol-related diseases, injuries, mental health issues. CEE has one of the highest proportions of disease burden due to mental and substance use disorders in the world. Excessive alcohol consumption, including the consumption of homemade alcohol, can contribute to the development or worsening of mental health issues. And then social and economic consequences. Man. Wait. Where? No. Yes. In Eastern Europe. Huh? High alcohols is the reason you should not collect the latter distillation fractions of the moonshine. When rakia starts to smell like crap, it's butanols or other high boiling shit. Oh, because we have those... I'll need to ask it better. We have those... things that you measure the amount of alcohol with. And yeah, I know at the end usually you don't use rakia anymore because the amount of alcohol gets out of control and then it's not good anymore. So I do know they take some some care of that. I've never really like it was never a business that I was researching too much. You're kind of making me want to research it a bit more. Lead contamination of the European atmosphere over the last 7,000 years? What the fuck? Lead contamination of fruit spirits intended for own consumption as a potential overlooked public health issue? Aim of the study was to analyze the occurrence of lead in selected samples of fruit distilled spirits for own consumption in terms of possible contribution to the occurrence of alcohol attributable diseases. We analyzed 18 samples of fruit spirits for own consumption. Most of the samples were distilled in the local growing distilleries in Žilina region, with the exception of 3 samples collected in Trnava. One of them was Hungarian, this one was the worst one. Sample preparation included previous mineralization with use of microwave decomposition system. Average ethanol level in our samples was higher in comparison with distributed spirits. We detected lead in all samples. In 2 of them, concentration was lower than the limit of quantitation. Highest lead concentration... Told ya, bitches! Highest lead concentrations were observed in plum spirit from Hungary. Who told you? Who told you? I told you. I told you. Of course it's gonna be the Hungarian one. Lead is a widespread contaminant of fruit spirits prepared for own consumption. Taking into consideration its common occurrence and possible multiplicative effect with ethanol, we can assume that lead can contribute to the occurrence of several alcohol-attributable chronic diseases. Orban vodka is the worst, yeah, definitely. Has that Hungarian spirit in it. You use it to understand when your alcohol becomes water. You can't measure shitty alcohols by aerometer, it's just not that precise. Could be. I know it has to be around 20 to be the type of rakia that we're used to. That's what I know. I know how to take care that it stays around 20. Apart from that, I'm just losing it. I have no fucking idea what they're doing with this, my dude. Coffee consumption and mortality in 3 Eastern European countries? What did they figure out? Coffee consumption was associated with decreased risk of mortality. Protective effect was even stronger when stratification by smoking status and alcohol intake was performed. Okay, basically what we have learned here is if you are an alcoholic, you are fucking up your health. But if you are an alcoholic who drinks coffee plus drinks alcohol that you got from the store and not homebrewed, you might actually be okay. You might actually be alright. So start drinking coffee before you drink your beer, and I guess you're gonna be okay, to be honest. Also, I have to fucking leave. I had to leave before. Why am I not leaving already? See you guys on Friday. Okay, I'll be seeing you on Friday. So, stay strong. Go support Thompson. Go support Dylan. Good luck with everything. If you're gonna drink alcohol, drink some coffee right before or after. I don't know. Just drink some coffee, okay? It's gonna save your life. It's gonna save your life, and you want your life to be saved, so you could come watch me on Friday. And I think that's about it. We'll be leaving the stream, so stay strong. Yeah, I'm also gonna be supporting my man Hassan. Actually, you could go to right. You know what you do? This is your homework for tomorrow. You take a notebook and you go watch Hassan and you write down whichever quotes of Hassan's you think were the most memorable. So then we're going to analyze it. That's what we will be doing. I think that's a great way for you to practice analyzing people's statements and also to be mocking Hassan, because Hassan is very funny. If you want to do it to some other streamers, you can also do that. There's several communists existing in Twitch politics at any given time. If you want to be analyzing their statements, you can do that. You draw a portrait? Yeah, you also have to draw a portrait. Whichever streamer you are analyzing, you have to draw them, but you have to draw a caricature. Because realism in drawings is for pussies. Okay, remember that. If there's one thing I was taught in art school, it's that realism is for pussies. Don't do that. Draw a caricature. Draw them the way you see them, because that is what is actual art. But yeah, going to be seeing you. Stay strong. Love you very much.